Ready? Birth to two.
We'll call the meeting to order. Tiffany, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Garvey. Present. Councilman Brennan. Present. Councilman McCain.
Present.
Councilman Stokes.
Present.
Mayor Sykes.
Present. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for the Monday, May 9th, 2020 meeting at 6 p.m. Rundown to department heads that are here. Chief, you want to give us a quick rundown?
Heck yeah, so had a great time, Chief for a Day last Friday. That was awesome, Chief for Day, Mayor for Day and all that. Kids loved it, had a great time, a lot of positive feedback. This week we have Lieutenant Thompson, Instructor Development. Post 5 has a lot to offer, so we'll be teaching several topics and subjects for our guys in the near future. Thursday night we have the Shop for the Cop fundraiser at the Air Base McDonald's. We'll be doing a little Pick a Cop program there Thursday evening to raise money for Shop for the Cop. 4th grade field day Friday, all of that. And then we'll also set up for the kids to play on, so it'll be a good time. And then a week from Thursday we'll have the practicals for the sergeant's promotional process. We'll start wrapping the process.
Nice. Jessa?
Tomorrow evening we'll have our adult craft night. We're making enclosed terrariums. Wednesday we'll have library book club, Thursday chess club, Friday at noon knitting group. We also are celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Month with a Korean spirit and cultural project making rose flower lanterns. So please sign up for that if you're interested. It's geared towards tweens and teens. We also, for the next 4 Saturdays, are doing a growing gardeners class at 1 p.m. And next week we'll have our Teen Nerf battle on Wednesday night. Saturday we have a Thunder Eggs presentation, and every child attending gets a free Thunder Egg. And then Bianca and Jessica have already visited all the elementary schools to promote this year's summer reading program. The theme this year is Oceans of Possibilities. Sign-ups will begin in 2 weeks, May 23rd. The program will run for 6 weeks. Children will keep track of the amount of books they read or the allotted time to earn their name into weekly drawings, as well as prizes for reporting. They will also be make and take crafts while supplies last, and family events. We'll have a magician, a Lego bus, a dino fossil presentation, and the teens will have a ukulele lesson. We've received prizes purchased through the Friends of the Mountain Home Public Library and Northwest Management Services, as well as prize donations from Roaring Springs, Flightline VR, Fun Zone, Aquarium of Boise, and Regal Movie Tickets. We appreciate any local support to encourage reading through the summer.
So what do you say when people say there's nothing to do for people in Mountain Home?
Bullshit.
All right, Hank, you're up.
Tell us how you really feel.
Just business as usual. We're super busy right now in the building department. We did get plans for the dialysis clinic behind Walmart. Trying to stay on top of the weeds. We didn't get any takers on the part-time code enforcement, so we reopened it again.
Okay. Rock.
On a better note, for the assistant city planner position, we actually had a fairly competitive interviewing process. I think we have our person in there, and hopefully by next meeting I have some good news for y'all.
Rich?
I gave you guys some stats of like for April going on. I think the most interesting one to me was how much water we pumped in April. We only pumped a little over 66 million gallons, and our all the records that I can find, our average April is usually about 93 million. That's just our average, so we're way below. And I think just because our weather, I know I've only turned my sprinklers on just a few times. My neighbor, he waters all the time too, and I don't think he's really hit his yet very hard either. So, but you know, but it's so I think that's a lot of it. So, and you kind of precipitation was a thing too. If you kind of look at, we had about 1/4 of an inch or 3/4 of an inch more than this April than we did last April, and which is a little bit, which is quite a bit. So, I think those are some things. So that's always good. So, but everything's up and running, going well. We're ready for summer when it really decides to hit in August.
Jeff?
I don't have anything on the council.
Oh, I did have one other thing. Can I jump in before you're done?
Go ahead.
URA sidewalks. You'll probably see Guho's going to be here. They started today. They're going to be doing some sidewalks. We have a couple of them on in our first blocks of sections that they needed to finish up on the side streets that they're going to do, and then they're going to jump over to a lot of them on 3rd Street. So, and then Jackson. So you'll see quite a bit of, Jackson's going to get all redone, both sides, or just the one side, 2 blocks. So you'll be seeing them doing some different things, and as long as they can kind of keep going. And and again, that's all. We're just a conduit. They give me the receipts. I take them to URA, and they're paying for them. You won't see any of those bills, but we're just running through them. So.
Cool. All right, Paula.
Mayor and council, kind of like Hank, business as usual. Busy. Budget's going through its process, and we will be requesting a special meeting with you guys sometime this month, just to go through our salary. We're still waiting on some final numbers from them, and then we'll just come in and talk about it.
Okay. Council members, got anything for the department heads?
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
I have a question for Hank. As far as the part-time code enforcement position, I wasn't able to read the announcement. We mentioned this a long time ago. I don't know how long it's been, but are we thinking about or allowing this part-time person to work some late afternoon or evening hours, early evening hours, to be out there having citizen input at door fronts with homeowners rather than just sending letters all the time?
Yeah, that's definitely talked about. Chris has a lot of that right now. I think that would be a good fit whenever this, if we can get somebody for that position, yes, absolutely.
Well, I mean, is it being advertised for in the announcement?
I don't believe it is, no.
Is that something we could consider?
Of course.
If, I mean, not my job, I guess, but if maybe somebody could get a second job, that needs a few hours, that could work early evenings till like maybe 7 o'clock at night or something like that. Just a thought.
Thank you.
All right.
One more thing, sorry.
Go ahead.
I apologize.
You're good.
One more thing, Hank. Got a citizen comment about code enforcement on North 10th East lacking. I'll just leave it at that. If
North 10th or East 10th?
North 10th East, if maybe you can just focus or look, whatever. I don't know. the PC approach to just
Got it.
whatever. Thanks.
And I forwarded your thistle.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good. All right, we're going to run down to conflict of interest. Has any council member received information pertaining to or otherwise had any contact with any other person regarding any items on the city council agenda? If so, please set forth the nature of contact.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I received an email from Rena Huff and Misty Pierce on a couple of items on today's agenda, which include the LaBelle neighborhood, impact fees, and the village.
Mayor. Councilman McCain?
Ditto.
Okay.
Mayor, I agree, yeah.
Ditto.
Okay. Alrighty. Run down to consent agenda. Council members, is there anyone you want to talk about? Poll? Further discussion on any of these A through O?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I'd like to just add something if the council would so be inclined on item number H, which is the findings of facts for the Bell property subdivision. Let me pull that out of my stack here real quick. So much paperwork, it takes me a while.
You're good.
Most of it's over here.
Right.
How about instead of adding mayor, I would like to pull H and I, please. Does that help you?
Sure. I got it right here, but yes, that's
Okay.
fine.
Councilwoman Garvey, that was H and I? Okay.
Just because only I just don't know the direction of which one.
Okay.
Anyway, I just have some questions on it.
Councilor, any others you want to discuss or pull? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, pulling items H and I.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Garvey,
Aye.
Councilman Brennan,
Aye.
Councilman Kane,
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Alrighty. Run down to old business. Action items legislated, continued from April 25th, 2020 deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations to deny amending the 2020 City Comprehensive Plan to include impact fees and zoning title amendment. Council members, what do you guys want to do?
Let me find that. I didn't pull that, sorry.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes?
can we have Brock give us a little summary of this? It went back to planning and zoning, to my recollection.
This is the definition.
Oh,
Yeah.
the one with the two options?
One of the two options that went back to planning and zoning.
That's the impact fee one.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. This one's the planning and, so what are we doing with that action
I was
item?
gonna say, this is it.
Yeah,
This is the impact.
yeah, this is the
Yeah.
impact, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to give us a summary, Brock?
Yeah, so it hasn't been remanded back to your piece. So we had our discussion with Ann about the amendments to the zoning title amendment and the comprehensive plan. And then that was tabled. It hasn't been officially been remanded as of yet. I anticipate you probably wanting to do that, and I'll probably have to lean on Paul for this as far as the order of operations. I don't know if first you're gonna schedule hearings for the actual impact fee, and then we'll untable those items and then amend the zoning title amendment and also the comprehensive plan to reflect that.
Give me my choices again?
All right, so this body was presented the recommendations from planning and zoning to amend the zoning title amendment
Yeah.
and the comprehensive plan to reflect what was found in the new capital improvement plan. And they recommended denial of such. And presented it to this body.
Right.
And they tabled it. And then there was further discussion on the impact fee report, the findings, and what potential implementation would look like. Where do we go now?
You want to lead with that. The ordinance would be the last one that you would want to do.
Okay.
But you'd want to lead with that since that's the newest information that you have.
Copy. So what we have before you, as far as potential strategies for implementation of the impact fee, was Rich and I listened to everything all of you said, and we tried to put pen to paper to start some sort of baseline so that you guys so that you all can have the most effective conversation possible. We believe that those were the items of the main concern. And we can certainly ask any other questions you have, but know that what we provided is what we sought to provide based upon your discussion.
That was Richard Keaty, not me.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
So quick question. What does limit the park's impact fee and revise the capital plan look like? What are we
Look
taking
like?
out?
Well, that's what we would have to know. Is
Okay.
if that's the direction you would want to
Yeah.
go, we would get with the Parks Department, and we would start making the decisions of what do we want to do without and what's most important. It's kind of a process, so we wanted to know if that was the direction you wanted to go, that what we were doing would be worth the time and effort of removing those different items.
So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brock and Tiff, there was no more purchasing of land, right? Where we're just going to enhance all the amenities is what we wanted to do. If that was the last conversation we had with them, right?
Correct.
And those park amenities are uber expensive.
And Mayor, Council, and I think if you look at the capital improvement on that, that's probably where it would end up. The amenities, instead of being 100%, it would probably drop to 80% to drop that down to that 1,000 off. That's probably where that would come
400 off.
400.
Well, down to 1,000, yeah.
Right.
Down to, yeah. So when we had kind of different discussions, how that would probably work.
So Rich just brought up an excellent point. Councilwoman Garvey, you were very direct in what do we cut off. a lot of it may not be what do we cut off, but what are we going to subsidize with our current tax base?
Right.
Even more if we do want to take it down.
Councilman Brand?
The thought that's in my head, I know it could probably be cut and diced a whole bunch of different ways to affect some and not affect others, but in terms of the park argument, when you talk about subsidizing, right, if we're cutting that $400 off to make it $1,000 rather than $1,400 and some change, all the park amenities are going to benefit every citizen in town, right? I mean, some may choose not to use them. I understand that. And so if we were to offset some of our park amenities with taxpayer dollars compared to what we're offsetting now with taxpayer dollars, I don't have any problems with that. I think that's a fair trade-off to help in the bigger picture.
Yep. And lastly, just before we punt it off to you guys, when it comes to removing capital improvements from a certain section, I believe that the comprehensive plan, when I reviewed the police and streets and fire, it spoke how much maintaining our current service is important, and even in some instances, they wanted to improve upon our current service. So I know obviously for our citizens, those are probably the most important, and the comprehensive plan isn't open to necessarily having the fees limited within those areas, being that when we surveyed the people, and the comprehensive plan is really the citizens plan, it's the best data we have from people who have participated in Mountain Home's future. That is something they don't want to skimp on, and that is a piece of their quality of life here in Mountain Home that is most important. But they probably want some nice parks as well, so good luck.
We have great parks. We want a little bit better.
We have amazing parks.
Mayor?
Councilman Stills.
Brock, could you just refresh our memory on the total amount of money we're talking about when we're talking someone buys a piece of property, right? Because you have the water fee, wastewater fee, and then we're adding in all these impact fees. What's that look like total?
So I have the approximate configuration. So the total fee, which would be your building permit fees,
Yep.
your water availability, everything outside of impact fees, is between $8,000 and $10,000.
Okay, and how's that comparable to other cities in our area?
I would want to verify the specifics to give you the very best information,
Yeah.
but it is comparable.
Okay.
Once everything is in there, there's other things that we are doing. I know we're looking at EDUs. We're having other conversations to make sure that all of our fees make sense. I can tell you what makes the impact fees different than everything else, though, is this is the only way we can have growth pay for growth. It's the only way that we can capture some sort of value off of new development coming. Whereas the other ones, the justifications are different. It's mostly, well, we don't want the building permit fees or the zoning fees to be more than the time the city is putting in. And what I can tell you is that as far as the zoning applications, I can't really speak to the building permit fees too much, but we are extremely competitive. We could double our zoning fees and still be vastly underneath everyone else. So I'm with you, and I understand that we need to look at it as a whole. But I wouldn't say that we're far off from our other cities around us, and I'd be more than happy at a future meeting or even before then to try to compile some information of us and immediate surrounding cities and other cities of a similar size, such as Jerome, for us to get a good snapshot of this is kind of what the industry is looking at.
Great. Have we also done some comparisons between single-family houses and multifamily? And I say that because the people that are going to build those single-family homes are just going to add that $8,000 to $10,000 onto the customer, whereas we might be lacking in multifamily houses for this area.
I would definitely concur with that.
Okay.
If we look at the comprehensive plan again, it speaks to what do we need most. It's multifamily. We haven't had a significant project built in a while. And one of the reasons for that is the last sizable multifamily project was built in Mountain Home in approximately 2008, and we don't have comparables for financial institutions to look at those and be like, okay, it is a proven market, go ahead. So the people who are initially coming in for multifamily have to be a little bit more creative with their funding, have more upfront capital, and then the way they pay things off is different as well. So I think it's something I would advise you on looking at, and I think all of you have had that conversation of how is multifamily different? How do we ensure that the impact fees aren't totally devastating for something that we certainly need? And I believe that there should be a distinction, that there should be a difference. I do think that the infrastructure being used for multifamily, just based on density per acre, is different. And I think that's where Ann Westcott also would probably concur, you know, when it comes to streets, when it comes to parks, being that we mandate people when they do multifamily to have green spaces and other things. You know, maybe there is an argument there that's valid that it should indeed be different than what a single family home would be.
Brock, I say this just because I don't want to stop some of these developments that our community actually needs right now. And you're right, it's an unproven market in some of these cases. And I also noticed we had two options here. Personally, I like option 2. It kind of delays it a little bit. And that's just my thoughts.
Mayor?
Councilman Garvey?
So I think it's important to know, and Brock nicely put it in red, that if we, I don't want to use the word supplement, but I don't have the right words right now, but if we only charge a developer 60%, the city has to come up with the other 40%, which, where are we going to find that money from? And if we are going to do that, then like Brock said, I don't want to take his words, then we need to validate this building. Like this building has to be validated, and as a city, we're going to say, yeah, we're going to pay the other 40%. I think it's important to know that. The other thing is, if we don't start now, when do we start? Again, I think I said it last time in the last meeting, these are slow growing fees. These aren't fees that we're going to get right away, and it's going to take a long time to even get to the point where we can improve our parks or our streets or our roads based on the impact fees, because we just are not charging enough right now. So I think it's important to note that we're going to have a big budget discussion if we do that.
Mayor, council, and council, you're exactly right on that, because we were talking about that, and we put it in red for a purpose, and because we're going to have to put a new line item in each of the fire and the parks and the street, and they're going to need to have money set aside. And how many houses are we going to put in that to set aside for that supplement piece? And then that's money that we really can't touch until so it really kind of makes things tough. So it's doable, but we have to figure that we gotta plan our own impact fees into our budget. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I think-
Hang on a second, Councilman. I'm sorry, Councilman Brennan, go ahead.
That's fine. And that number that, Rich, and that number that you provided to Brock, I think you said 8 to 10,000 for the
Total.
development fees excluding the impact fee itself.
So I'm talking building permit, all the public works, the impact fees, all of that combined.
Everything combined.
That is the approximation.
And that includes the fiber buy-in fee or whatever we call that.
Correct. And as I mentioned before, and we can certainly get that for you, all added up and be like, at the end of the day, this is it. So you have that, but I'm pretty confident. I'm really hoping it is. I'm hoping it's not $15,000 or $20,000.
Brock, not to interrupt you, I have all that, by the way.
And
Ann got it for me. I'll forward it to you guys. I've had it for a while. I have everybody's comparisons. We're in the ballpark.
was I close
Yeah.
with 8 or?
Yeah. I'll forward it. It's a lot of information. I'll forward it to you guys.
What exactly are you talking about, though? Like, are you close with our numbers? Because you just went from like 8 to 10 to minus
Yes.
15,000.
So when I asked if we were close, I wanted to be close with our numbers for the total cost of development, and I wanted to be close in the information I was giving to you that we are in the ballpark of everyone around us, and we're not significantly more.
And I know that Nampa's redoing theirs, Emmett, isn't Jerome doing theirs? They're looking at Caldwell, Meridian, Boy, they're all doing them.
Nampa's done.
We get theirs finalized?
Yep, Meridian, I believe, is done. Yeah.
Sorry, Councilman Stubbs.
Oh. I had an argument against what Councilwoman Garvey was going to say, and I think it was just that what do we say then about the 1,830 EDUs we've permitted thus far? You know what I mean? We've missed out on those impact fees. So I just like this slow transition into them.
These are not finalized though, right? Correct, Keating?
Those
These
aren't
are-
finalized
these
until
aren't
they come pick
finalized
a
yet.
building permit.
Yeah, those
Nothing
aren't
is
building
set in
permits yet.
stone.
Yep.
So they're not issued yet.
Yeah.
Any other arguments?
Nope.
Sorry.
Alrighty.
No. So, Mr. Mayor, I think the only thing that we're coming before this body today is we know we need to get started, that we need to get the ball rolling, and we want to post, and we want to make sure that whatever that number is that we post at when we go into these hearings is as reasonable as we are able to make it. So that's what staff is seeking from this governing body. Again, we understand that it's complicated.
Councilman McCain?
Ms. Garvey, are you insinuating you would like number one then?
I mean, if we were to come to a resolve, I would be okay with bumping that date out just a little bit, but, yes, I think, unfortunately, this is the reality of what we're facing, and these are tough decisions, and, you know, we do need building, we do need construction, but we also need to think, I'm thinking of the people that currently live here, and,
Yeah.
and,
No, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I was just curious because I think number one is the way
yeah,
to go too.
yeah, yeah.
That's why I was curious
Yes.
as to if you were looking that way or not.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I'd like to see what the actual difference would be between $1,000 and $1,400. It just that just doesn't seem like a lot of money to me. So I'd like to see it, like you said, maybe it's not 100%, maybe it's 80%, which is still a healthy number for our CIPs.
Councilman Brennan?
Shoot. Of the two options, right? Like I can tell, like we're all over the place up here. I mean, as far as impact fees being assessed for a one single family resident here and another single family resident here, I think the impact fee goes into effect immediately upon passage and not on October 1st, 2022. Immediately, right? Because if we're in a hurry to collect all our fees and not pass that on to the citizens, then that's the way to me, that's the way to do it. As far as the other part, which is giving some grace to those that are already in, I call them the pipeline, right? That have their final plats pulled or preliminary plats, planned unit developments approved. I believe in giving them some grace because they've worked hard and long to get to where they're at, and now all of a sudden, you know, maybe we're pricing them out of the market, maybe we're not, but I think there's something to be said for fairness for both parties, our city residents and people that are trying to come and help us fulfill our mission, right? And we have a mission to Mountain Home Air Force Base too, to get housing, and I'm not one that says if we do impact fees, everybody's going to go away and not develop. I don't believe that. Some might, absolutely, but we do have a mission to provide some housing to keep our community, our city, not just the whole like county or the Air Force Base, but the members of the Air Force Base live in our city, and so I think we need to do what we can to make sure their mission succeeds while ours does too. And so that's why I'm more for option number 2 on here, which again, if you're looking at the document you provided us, letter A would say impact fees adopted immediately upon passage. The second one gives the grace to October 1st, 2022 for those that have a completed final plat, and then they don't have to I want to make sure I say this right. They'll have 12 months to pay the impact fee at the existing rate. we had a conversation, sorry, about the existing versus new rate. Is it is it I or II that's supposed to say new rate on there?
So II is supposed to see new rate, not existing.
And that's, so I is correct as printed,
Correct.
and only II would say the new rate?
Correct.
Okay. And so I guess to draw a distinction there, the first bullet, or I would say, if you already have your final plat pulled, then we're going to grandfather you into what we have right now, already approved by ordinance. I would be, if you have a preliminary plat or PUD approved by October of this year, then basically you have one additional year to pull your building permit and pay that impact fee at a 60% rate. So I like that. And Rich, as far as your comments that you made for subsidizing the budget, were you talking strictly the difference between 1,000 to 1,416, or that 60%?
60%. Yeah, the 60%.
So if we waive that, or by ordinance, do we physically or literally have to put cash aside for that 60%?
We just have to make a guess. We just have to make a guess that we're going to have 150 building permits come in, or something that we have to.
If you don't, then people that are paying impact fees are paying a certain level that's calculated to maintain a certain level of service. And so if the general fund doesn't subsidize, and that is the correct word,
Okay,
if it
thanks.
doesn't subsidize it, then that means the level of service is dropping and the impact fees weren't being used for that. It was using to pad our general fund. And then that would be an improper use of impact fees. That would be on lawful fee. And then we'd be subject to a cause of action on that. So he's precisely right that it is now a line item. And if you remember what Ann said, that is the wrong approach to doing that. If you want to take things out, and that's fine, like remove things, but maintain whatever you're doing, you are choosing to collect for, maintain that level of service, because otherwise, then it won't work. Sorry, everybody. It won't work, but then you're basically, in essence, telling the existing taxpayers you're taxing them twice on the same. That's why I'm saying it won't work. It's not a valid lawsuit. It's not going to work for that. But it's a good way to explain it to people that you're charging them twice to maintain this same level of service, because now the general fund has to pick up that thing. So maintaining the level of service versus allowing the level of service to go down and subsidizing with your general fund, Ann was completely against that. So am I, because of it's fraught with some peril there. Versus just reducing the pie and doing it that way.
So in your minds, all of option number 2 is you're giving us advice not to do that?
Which one's two?
Subsidize.
That one. Yeah, I don't like to. I'm seeing legal problems with it down the. Am I saying that it's unlawful? No, I'm not. You can do it, but I think you're going to be finding yourself, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, kicking yourself for it.
Probably a really dumb question, but you can't.
This is a dumb question, but
I'm trying to learn here. You can't just basically say, Mr. Developer, we're only going to have you do 60% of impact, and we'll forget about the other 40%.
new.
No?
Again,
Okay.
now you're dropping the level of service.
Okay.
So sorry to cut you off, Paul, but I thought we talked, gosh, how long you been with us? 4 years, 5 years now? I thought we talked about subsidies and under state constitution. So like, remember the wastewater fee
Yeah.
for your area?
That's a user fee.
A user fee.
An enterprise fund.
And we were not allowed to subsidize.
100% that's true on enterprise funds.
Okay.
Now you have constitutional and statutory mandates on that stop it.
Okay.
The question on impact fees is that unlawful? Well, it wasn't your question. But the question is it unlawful? No, I can't say it's unlawful. You can do that. It's not prohibited, hence the double taxation lawsuit. It won't work. It would with enterprise funds.
Right.
And there's case law for that. So I'm treading carefully because I'm giving you, I can't tell you policy-wise decide what you want to do, but I'm telling you that and thank you for the analogy. If this was an enterprise fund, yeah, you couldn't do it. And so the fact that you just flat out can't do it for one, you could do it, it's just a horrible idea for this other one, is sort of what I'm saying. And that, it was Ann said it far better than I did the other night, or whatever, 2 weeks ago, articulating how to get to where you want to do without taking it out of your general fund, or worse, not taking it out of your general fund, and then lo and behold, you've dropped the level of service over time, get those people paid top dollar for the level of service. That's bad.
Mr. Mayor, another hole I found with number 2, which is unfortunate.
Who said number 2?
with putting it off to October, would be having a developer become frustrated with my office that we're not processing his application quick enough, and that right now we have a very high volume, and like they get pushed, and then they say, well, you're pushing me because you don't want me to pay the existing fee. You want the new. There are. I can definitely see that there could be some issues that could arise.
You're fine. There's a case out of the Ninth Circuit, Santa Clara, something or other, where they claimed that they were denied procedural due process to have their application felt, and it was like 8 months later, and it just fell flat on its tail. So that claim rarely, I can count one instance that I could recall ever working. Now, if you're doing it deliberately as a subterfuge in order to do it, then yeah, then it's legitimate. But if it's just simply because of processing applications, I wouldn't worry about that.
But we try to go as fast as we can.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Brock, what is the timeline, like the fastest someone could get an application through your process in your office?
So right now, for hearing level applications, we're actually incredibly fast. And it's something that we may slow down on, just because the ability to review is difficult and we don't want to miss big items. But it's like right under 2 months from the time someone submits. And some of them can be really complex, and we work really hard to catch everything. Now, we do have a disclaimer right there on the bottom that this could take more time, and it's something that we're certainly getting closer to actually using, just because we have high volumes and we want to make sure review happens. Now, as far as what developers are looking at as their timeline, like after a final plat, once they break ground to build, I think those timelines are a little bit more stretched given the current circumstance. Materials are hard to find, labor is hard to find. You know, they want to start in 12 months, but it may be 18 months. And I acknowledge that the market's difficult. We live in a strange time.
Gotcha. And you let into one of my good arguments, I think, that because of this market and what's going on, that even if you wanted to break ground as quick as possible, you just simply can't. Which is why I'm still more in favor of number 2, even though the attorney said I should not be in favor of it.
But when have you taken my advice?
Right.
I mean, honestly.
My only professional recommendation I would give this body is we need to utilize what we should be doing an annual review of impact fees. And we need to take that annual review very seriously. It just can't be a glance. We have to look at it in depth. We have to look at the data and our numbers, and is growth falling or is it going up? And I think that's the only thing that gives me a little bit more comfort because none of us want to get the ship off of the rails. We've had a lot of amazing projects come through that Mountain Home's never seen, and I would love for those to come to fruition. But I think our saving grace is what we do here isn't infinitely permanent. We're just going to take the best information we have, make the best call we can, and then we can re-coordinate if needed on an annual basis. So know that you have that in your back pocket.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
Paula, this question's for you. In terms of bookkeeping, when a consumer comes in and pays their like building permit, which includes impact fees, are you separating like X amount of dollars is now in the street account, X amount of dollars is now in the whatever other
Police, fire.
Police and fire,
Yeah.
or is it one big lump sum?
No, it's done at the time of the purchase.
Okay, so they're tracked and maintained
Goes
separate.
into different GLs at the time of the payment for permit.
I've got my my thought, man, but I never go against my attorney's advice. So, gosh, I don't know if there is an option 2 anymore. Like, we either do it or we don't. So.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion to adopt and implement 1 and on the impact fees in the entirety and leave them to October 1, 2022.
Second.
What did I do wrong?
Do you want to get your answer on the parks difference first? You were wanting to know the difference in the cut.
Oh.
I would just include that in your motion, right?
Um,
If you wanted to, that. Councilwoman.
yes, thank you. And I would like to know what that's going to look like and what's going to be cut out of the plan.
To get that down to the.
Yes.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes?
I was going to ask the attorney if we thought the impact fees were too high. The only other way to go about it would be to adjust the CIP, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you just change the CIP. And that was what Ann's advice was, is if you wanted to lower it, that you're creating a chilling effect on development.
Yeah.
And providing enough inventory for Air Force personnel and the like, that you would go back to your CIP and change the level of services, change those things there about what you want to do, and just accept the fact that you're going to lower it for everybody, but not creating a situation where you're arguably double taxing other entities, or worse, not collecting it in your general fund.
Gotcha.
Mayor, I have one more comment. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilman Brennan.
This argument sucks. This has been the toughest one, I think. Ann is recommending 4.1%. Is that right?
Yes.
Equally a year for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the argument may not be able to be made that we haven't had a 4.1% growth yet, and but we've never seen the amount of planned unit developments and preliminary plats and all this stuff filed before either. But I'd like to think I'm smart enough to know that all of those won't come to fruition. Some of them may, or a large part of them may, but I don't know how she gets to 4.1%.
So Anne, she actually, and I remember where the email is, and I would have to grab it, but the way she put it, that helped me certainly understand the figure more. Was she said, if you were only growing at 2%, that's only a couple hundred homes over like 10 years. 4% shows like the 1,000, 3,000 that I projected, which could happen over 5 years, which is still realistic. We're still looking at the data as far as building permits, and granted, a lot of these haven't made it through for building permits to be pulled yet. But if I was a betting man, I would estimate up rather than lower.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just interject my own history, at least, and I'm going to use an example, and I really hope we're not about to do this, everybody, but in 2006 and in 2007, I remember we were getting into a city to go unnamed, lots of objections over the fees were too high. And why were the fees too high? It's not because of the level of service, everybody accepted that. It was the growth, the projected growth, saying we're going to grow this much every year, that's what's going to happen. And then we all know what happened a year later, in 2007, 2008, well, bam! And, then it was sort of, oh, yeah, okay, the bubble did burst. And so, but I've seen that now replayed at least four or five times over the years, where the error, if there was an error, looking back with 2020 hindsight, and of course, what's luxurious to be able to do that, it was the projected growth didn't come to fruition in the way we thought it would in some of these places. And so, that's food for thought there as to, and that's why I was saying I hope we're not heading there, but what's going to happen in 2023 and 2024? I mean, will our bubble burst at some point? And do we enter recession? And those are things. Now, the answer to this, of course, and what Ann would say, if I turn my Ann hat back on, is you revisit it. You look at it every year, and if your growth is not projecting on the number that you picked, 4%, 5%, 6%, 3%, whatever it is, well, change it, and you just change it, and then the number will adjust. You know, you don't pick a number that's arbitrary and capricious. So the 4% has to come from somewhere as to why your projecting growth will be that. And if you look at the cost of homes being driven up the way they have been the last couple of years, yeah, you can see that everything's being bought up as soon as it's available. Well, how long will it continue like that? And so you look at those types of things. But you don't just, here's why I'm bringing this up. You don't just say, well, let's just knock another % off of it willy-nilly. There needs to be, you need to calculate, or you need some guidance as to why you're picking what you're picking.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes.
Last comment, and that's why I am in favor of delaying these. You hit the word on, or the nail on the head. Recession. I feel it or smell it coming. It's just an intuition. I'm watching markets.
All right, council members, there's been a motion and a second. My 2 cents, really quick. I'll sit here and listen to you guys. Obviously, Idaho's the fastest growing state in the union, and I agree with everything Paul said. But in the same sense, we'll revisit them, I think, next year if it doesn't happen. So, all right, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Nay.
Councilman Brennan.
I need clarification on the motion. Is this, we're not voting to pass it right now, are we? Are we sending it back to like a public hearing for discussion? I don't know what the step is.
So the public hearing, I believe, would be you. So the next public hearing we would have would be the impact fee hearing. So there would be one more, and it would be based on the number that this body is hopefully finalizing right now. But it wouldn't go back to P&Z. I think it's all city
No, it
council
does
from
not go
here.
back.
So everything from this point forward, as long as we don't increase numbers, then it all stays within city council here.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's not going back to P&Z.
Okay.
You're allowed to change things around because you're going to have your own public hearing. So it's not going back to P&Z now.
So what does tonight's, if her motion passes, what is the implications of that?
You give us a figure that we can base our posting off of. So we need to meet the posting requirement by state statute. And this is what we're going to write in the newspaper. It's going to be what's written in the agenda, that this is the proposed fee. And that's what people will be notified of.
Okay. And then we'll take comments and we can re-deliberate again if we want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't even remember your motion. Could you tell me again?
Number one. With relooking at the
$1,000.
the 1,000
Can
versus the
I just
1,400.
add my comment? I know, I don't think we need to just keep going on and on about this, but I think I just need to put this in perspective of what this may look like. 10th Street, for example, okay? We have a ton of construction going on at 10th Street. Well, and this is just kind of just bringing it down to like the most basic level of what we could use these impact fees for versus what the streets department and our taxpayers would have to pay. If they tear up 10th Street, which they likely are because there's a lot of heavy equipment, we could use this impact fee money to help 10th Street and fix it. I think that's kind of bringing it down to the most basic level of what these fees are for. But if we don't start collecting these, then that developer has just torn up our street and we, the taxpayers, are paying it. So anyway, sorry, I just had to add that.
All right, Councilman Brennan.
Can you restate your motion for me? I don't even know what we're doing anymore.
I make a motion that we propose to pass and implement option 1 of the impact fees, and we are going to get what it's going to look like, the $1,000 versus the $1,400 on the capital improvement plan for the parks. Because we're going to have to take out some percentage of the CIP, because right now it's at 100% on the parks.
Mayor. Quick, Mayor, Council.
Just you're prolonging this. No, I'm just kidding.
I just wanted to, because I kind of missed this, I was writing something down. Do you want to have it effective immediately upon approval, or do you want the October 1st?
October 1st, I said that in my first one, I apologize.
Okay, I didn't,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you.
October
We
1st.
were, yeah, we gotta make sure we get to which one we want. Okay.
I seconded it.
Okay.
Let's see, what, 20 minutes ago?
Thank you. I was thinking you said immediately, so, okay.
It's kind of nice to be in charge of slowing things down a little bit. You know, I'm right there because of advice from legal, but I'm not because of the implementation date. So if we're doing it, we got to do it, right? Why would we wait another X amount of months? I'll pass it to you. Nay.
I vote aye. Running down to old business B, action item, deliberation on suggestion definition for multifamily developments. Brock, you're up again.
Yes. And know that we're gonna have to set a hearing date for that last item as well.
So you want to look at a date really quick?
So while she's looking at that, so it was requested that I provide various definitions of multifamily so that we can have effective interpretation when it comes to implementing the impact fees. I looked at our code, I looked at other people's code, I tried getting creative and meshing them myself. This is what we have. I believe me and Richard Akidi's opinion was we like definition 2 the most, but legal hasn't seen it yet. So,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stoll.
I'll jump in because I'm liking number 2 today, I guess. Number 2 was the best definition I saw. You threw in here, these units may be detached, semi-detached, row house, or multifamily structures. This definition excludes detached single-family dwellings specifically. I thought it was the most encompassing of what I consider multifamily, and I would hope the body would agree.
Councilman Brennan?
I think option number 2 needs a correction because I'll just read it. A building consisting of 3 or more attached dwelling units, attached being the key word, where all such units are on the same lot. The next sentence proceeds to say these units may be detached, semi-detached row houses, multifamily structures. So you can't have both. They're either attached or detached, or one of those sentences has to change.
so I would believe the needs to stay attached.
So these units may be attached, semi-detached.
Semi-detached, and that's where I believe what it was referring to in those instances when you have a singular, because another key part of that definition is it says on a single lot, on a single parcel of ownership. So I believe what it was referring to, we have the little blue houses right down here. All of those are detached, but they are on a single lot.
Parcel, yeah.
And one parcel. And I believe that's a multifamily product. I think that's a fair observation. So I would hope that whatever is there would reflect that scenario.
I'm not tracking you now.
So, really quick, Mikey, those are considered, when you...
Sorry, I was thinking.
Oh, the ones over
apologize.
by Los Pinos, they're all on that one property, those are all detached, but would
Those-
you consider that multifamily?
It's all on my property, yeah.
Okay. And I think that's, because, I think that's where we're trying to figure out that.
But then I don't like any of these. So,
Anyway, sorry, Councilman Brennan.
I'm kind of with Mike. Like, I don't like them. I know you put an hour and a half into it. I appreciate
On a
that.
Friday.
It's not clear to me, right? And definitions are important to me, but I still have so many questions on how this is worded.
So I think what I would do is I would throw it at someone who has years of experience that I don't have, who's been doing the job. And I would be interested. I really would. Mike's done the job for a long time. I think he's seen good and bad definitions. If he can bring something to me, legal, maybe we go from there, and that's kind of the stance we take as far as next steps.
So, what I'm hearing, Brock, is you feel more comfortable presenting this with more clarification from Councilman McCain, probably from Hank, legal, probably Tarrant. I'll throw you on there, Tarrant. But you know what I mean?
Whatever the body sees fit.
So what do you think, council members?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Do you envision tiny homes being here?
Yeah,
Because that's attached,
it is.
and it's definitely a thing.
We already have one technically.
What'd you say?
Tiny homes. So
Oh.
there's, you know, it's been about, I don't know, 8-10 years that those started becoming really popular, especially in resort towns, of tiny homes. And so those are obviously detached, and so.
So Brock, are you saying, next councilman, you want that back on there?
Yeah, so we can have that prepared for next council meeting and also Councilman Darby's request for the CIP changes.
Okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I guess I'm probably disagreeing with everybody. I tend to think that and somebody can definitely try to help educate me more, but if it's a single structure under a single roof, to me, that's a single family home, regardless of who owns the property that it sits on.
And
So, I don't know.
the underlying lot, as far as ownership and interpretation, I think is a key factor. I know that's how we deviate, from from row house rentals to townhomes that people actually own the unit and they own the ground underneath. And it does need to make sense. And I have faith that we have the brain power to bring something that will make sense.
So council, are we good to push it till next meeting?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Yeah. My comment would actually just be to delete the attached part in that first sentence and just put it in that second sentence so that you have a building consisting of 3 more dwelling units where all such units are on the same lot. These units may be attached, detached, blah, 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 blah. That would be my simple correction that I think would clear it right up.
I would be for that as well.
Council members, what do you think? Are you okay with that?
No.
No? Okay. How about Councilman Garvey? Councilman Brennan?
I think it's okay to be revisited.
All right.
Okay,
Might be an option we bring back.
Yeah.
we'll bring it back.
Different.
Sorry,
Yeah, just different
sorry,
wording.
Councilman Brennan.
I just want to say that, I trust Mike to help us through that process, and when he doesn't like it, I'm sure there's a reason why. And we all have our expertise in our kind of our profession, so I think that should be heavily weighted.
So, way to volunteer, Mike.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem.
All right.
Please.
Run down to new business items removed from the consent agenda. Item H. Ms. Garvey.
Yes. Really quick, on the findings and facts of the LaBelle Estates. The first thing, and maybe my memory is not serving me correctly, but item number 10, I was not under the understanding that we were going to actually allow the reduction of EDUs. I thought we all said no to that, and that's in here. Page 3, number 10.
So you're referring to the planned unit development document?
That's what I was wondering, that's why I said I might be backwards.
So I was under the assumption, and I'll let Paul correct me, that I had to have the same attachment, which was given from P&Z, which contained the old language.
Oh.
However, once this was approved, the one we were actually going to record at the county would reflect those changes.
Okay, all right.
And also the ordinance and
Okay, so one other quick thing. I haven't fact-checked all of it yet. I've read it. It was brought to our attention that the water rights have not been transferred into Carlton's name. I don't know what issue that poses. The other thing that I think we need to look into with the Idaho Department of Water is that it's only used for one residential dwelling unit at 13,000 gallons a day. And so are we sure that that irrigation is not going to max that 13,000 gallons? Are we sure they can do that, I guess, is my point. So it was an email to us, Brock, sorry.
I'm trying to track Councilwoman Garvey. So that was supposed to just go for, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that just supposed to go for watering the outside area, or was that literally for the homes too?
And I would need to review too. I was under the assumption that you approved it without that.
Right.
That they had to hook up as is.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And that the existing well system there is not being proposed to be
Oh,
utilized
okay,
any longer.
okay. I guess I missed that assumption, yeah.
I had the almost identical comments as Councilwoman Garvey, is that I would just like to seek clarifications under page 5 of the findings of fact. Conclusions of law, paragraph 5, it says the city council voted 4-0 in favor of the application. I think just for clarity and to be crystal clear, we say 4-0 in favor of the application with 1 EDU per dwelling unit.
Yeah.
And since we did vote that way, everything about the well is a moot point, I believe.
Okay,
Yep.
yep.
Okay, and then, I guess we'll go H first.
That was my questions, and I didn't know which direction to go, whether it was on the H or the I, but those were my comments in general, so I'm done.
Okay, council members, do you have any other questions for H and I? Hearing none, with the clarification, do I hear a motion to?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve items H and I from the consent agenda that we pulled with the corrections from Councilwoman Garvey and Councilman Brennan.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Run down to new business, action item, deliberation decision to add clarification to the digital reader message board policy. Council? Sorry, go ahead, Tiff.
Okay, first, does June 27th work to set the public hearing for impact fees? It's the end of June.
Apparently I didn't check my social schedule. I'm only teasing, guys. That works for me.
27th?
The 27th, yes.
Is that the soonest by rule we could do it?
If we're gonna bring back the clarification on the 23rd, then post, yeah, the 27th would be the soonest we could get them to.
Works for me.
Works for me, yeah.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Or you're just you're quitting. No, you're not, whatever. You're not gonna give up that easy.
Are you
You'll
good?
be fine. You just need to take a deep breath.
Faster.
All right, go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry, digital
sorry.
reader board sign.
Sorry, one posted at a time. Okay, Mayor, Council, we hate to keep bringing this one back to you, but we need a little bit more definition, I think. So, specifically, we added 4 in the very top. So, number 3 talked about if you fell under the umbrella of the chamber. If you fall under the umbrella of the chamber or organizations that the city potentially helps fund, right?
Arts Council.
Arts Council, those type of things. And your event was free to the public, you could be on the board. However, the mayor, Betsy, myself, we kind of sat down and we were thinking, well, the farmers markets, both the Moho and our normal, every Saturday one, they meet that free to the public for the betterment, but they don't fall under the umbrella of the chamber, as do, I think, movies in the park, those type of other events. So we thought we kind of need to clarify that definition, specific that they're not a cost to enter and they're not an entry fee. So that would eliminate your race type of things. You know, your race, you have to do an entry fee to run. You could not get advertisement. So even if you have a vendor, I don't really care. It's free to the public to attend it. We're not charging per head to get in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
I'm totally tracking what you said.
Okay.
You're right. We did kind of choose to eliminate number 4 early on. I do see a benefit to it. I think my comments probably brought this on because I see it as, well, the 2 that you mentioned, the Moho Market and the Mountain Home Farmers Market, are charging vendors to sell there. But, so they are profiting, but it's free to the public to join. And I was one of the biggest supporters for a digital message board. And my goal was to bring awareness to things happening in town. And so this is probably one of the better ways to do it. However, there's going to be so many, I think it's going to open the floodgates. The one example you used for, like, you know, if there's a running event and you have to pay to run, the public doesn't have to pay to watch. So a running event you pay to run is the exact same thing as paying to sell your product in the farmer's market, in my eyes. So I don't know. Like, I can support this. It's fine. I know it's going to open a Pandora's box of everybody wanting to be on our thing. In all cases, as it says below, we still have good restrictions, which I appreciate, which, as an example, you can't include somebody's birthday, anniversary, school, reunion, retirement announcements other than city personnel. And
We could add some, the,
restrictions.
yeah, you could add, I don't know, racing events, or whatever, you know what I mean, if you wanted to go that far, but,
Sure.
so.
That's my comments.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Yeah, I would concur with those. The other thing that always crosses my mind is, this is another Pandora's box, so sorry about this. I wish we were supporting the high school a little more. Volleyball games, cross country, football games, baseball games, stuff like that. Just so that we're supporting our kids a little bit. I don't know how you would put that in there or in the policy without opening even more gates. Then again, they aren't getting a personal gain. I don't believe they're really fundraising. They're just paying for the electricity and the coaches and whatnot. Just my thoughts, but I concur.
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
The schools have so many events. I don't know that they would ever get on, or they would try to, all of our stuff would bump off, because there's a priority list, and
Yeah.
they'd be in that last priority.
Yep.
But when there's 13 requests for, JV and varsity and
Yeah.
all these different events, it will become, you admitted it, right? Just crazy amount of,
I think in some of those
activities.
cases, Mayor Council we could recognize some of the big accomplishments, like when they made state, or they're
Yeah.
heading, like, I think softball's hosting district championship. We could put them up there for this weekend.
Cool.
Or, if we catch it and we know there's a football game, we can do that. I think early on, the thought process was we wouldn't be able to get everybody, so we didn't want to hurt people's feelings if they got left off. So I think that was our early on thought. So, but I think as staff, we could do that.
All right, council members, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I make a motion that we approve to add item 4, events and activities that are open to the general public at no cost.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Run down to action item number 3, discussion decision to approve Elmore Sportsman's Associate's request to lease the 2 buildings located at Optimus Park. Tiff, you want to give a quick synopsis?
Yes, Mayor, I can do that. Ian's here as well if we have questions. He's at the back. The biggest thing to this, Mayor Council, was Elmore County Sportsman was underneath the umbrella of Quail. It was removing, so they have got away from being under the umbrella of that, and they would like to just obtain the lease solely in their name moving forward.
And they are their own 501c3.
Correct.
And they are the ones that utilize this facility out at Optimus Park over by the track. They've
Teach hunters education and bow safety and
Boy Scouts go out there, put new rugs on them, didn't you guys? They've done all the improvements out there. Councilman Brennan?
I'm skipping ahead to the next item real quick, but it's the resolution. It says the city is utilizing 2 rooms in the building. What 2 rooms are we talking about?
I just used the exact same resolution as we had in the past, so I don't know what 2 rooms they're using, if they are.
Ian, what?
There's 2 trailers out there.
Right.
It doesn't say rooms, it's 2 buildings.
No, in the resolution, which is the next item on the agenda, it says the city's utilizing 2 rooms, and that might be old and outdated,
Yeah.
so.
We have a Scribner's error. Is that what you call it, Paul?
Ah, thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll fix that on the resolution.
Two rooms of it.
Yeah, we've never used it.
We're not, okay.
No.
Then we'll come back to that.
Change that one. Okay.
I would imagine early on there was some archery stuff through recreation they were gonna try to team up with on that,
Okay,
but that isn't occurring.
thank you. And also, part of the question we have to answer, I guess, is the dates. This is a really long lease, and I'm curious how I voted on a 20-year lease early on. But it's in place, so I would say keep the date the same as of the beginning of their initial lease, not starting another 20 years today.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Councilman, are you saying we'll continue the lease that we currently have, but just under our new name and our new
Correct.
501c3?
Correct. In the initial, early on, the date of 2018. Yeah.
24,
So
2018.
expiring in 38.
Expiring 38.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just wanted to get away from the quails because we, like I said, we currently have our 501c3 of our own. We had to ship money out of state under quails. Now we can donate more money to local causes like 4-H, fairgrounds, anybody that needs support.
Perfect.
Ms. Ware? Thank you guys for this. I know you guys do great work for the youth of Mountain Home, Elmore County, all the youth around us. I talked to the attorney about something real quick about this lease before the meeting, and I wanted to ask, would it be in the city and possibly Elmore County Sportsmen's Association's best interest to have a cancellation policy? A written 30 days cancellation without cause. And I say that because I want to both protect the city and protect you guys. If you guys get so big and you're saying, we want out of this lease, I didn't really see anything in there about a cancellation or termination policy written in black and white.
I think cancellation is probably something that we should entertain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure 30 days would be adequate because we do classes and they may be scheduled out for some time.
Uh-huh.
But I think with notice and agreement on both sides, I think cancellation can happen on whatever mutually agreeable time it is.
60, 90.
Say 90.
Yeah.
Say 90.
Yeah, would something like 90 be okay, Ian? I say that because you guys might outgrow this area, you know?
Well, we were hoping to at some point in time to be able to grow large enough to get a piece of ground to have our own facility and so forth.
Exactly.
But that's not gonna be immediate. We spent a lot of money getting where we're at right now. And we just deleted all of our funds when we divorced from Quails. Any money that was left in that had to go back to them. So we're rebuilding all over now.
Okay.
Councilman Brennan?
I do believe there should be an exit strategy, so to speak. And you guys are teaching hunter's ed out there, right?
Yes, sir.
How long are those classes drawn out for?
They're usually 2 weeks apiece, but they're scheduled out in the future, and it depends on the time of year.
Like one course from beginning to end, you're pushing in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because of their scheduled out so far, I would ask for 180 days. It's a $0 lease. So give them 6 months that on our choice or their choice, they can, either party could walk away for a 20-year lease. I think that's necessary.
So that goes in the resolution, or does that go in this contract?
You'd add it as just renumber the paragraphs, put it in as paragraph. 14.
Okay.
Council members, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor, I'd like to approve it, keeping the date the same as initial with a 180-day exit strategy, whatever you want to call it.
Second.
No cause, termination paragraph, that's all.
No cause, with no cause termination language.
Okay. Been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey? Run down to action item number 4, deliberation decision to pass resolution 13, 2022 R approving Elmore Sportsman's Associated to lease 2 buildings owned by the city located in Optimus Park and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign. I think there are going to be some changes in the resolution since we don't, as Councilman Brennan saw, we don't have any rooms that we lease, so
And then I was just gonna attach the exact same exhibits that were in the lease to it. So-
Can we just, can we basically just vote to approve it after legal signs off on it?
okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I'd make a motion to approve, resolution number 13-2022R, pending legal update to the paperwork.
Second.
With also adding the same termination. It's not in this one either.
Yes.
Same termination paragraph, it's not in this one either.
Yeah, we're gonna add that,
Okay.
and then also take out the rooms, right?
Sure, yeah, it was just based on the legal. With 180-day, no cause,
Exit strategy.
yeah.
Second.
Exit strategy.
It's been motioned and it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Run down to item number 5, action item deliberation, decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations for annexation for Copium Investments located at 370 West 12th South Street, finding of facts. Council members.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
I think I'm just gonna talk early and then shut up, basically on this one, because I'm gonna stick to where I was at on the last time they came forward. Just being more specific with the stats. I can really only talk about this under annexation because after annexation it doesn't matter anymore. But when the people of Mountain Home were polled, those that responded to our survey, only 28.05% of our citizens want this type of development, and 71.95% of our citizens do not want this type of development. And that's on our 2019 comprehensive plan data, directly quoted from page 31. So I believe it's my job to represent the will of the people that put me into this office, and so for that reason I'm going to be against annexation.
Council members, any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
As much as I see that point of view, I also see that they've kind of bent over backwards for us. Is the applicant in the room?
Yes.
Can we ask him questions, Mayor?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Grab the hot seat.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
All right, good. Doing good. I was just curious, with this development, is your plan to either buy these manufactured homes or mobile homes and rent them out? Or will people bring their own and pay you like a lot rent, kind of?
So we would, we're planning on keeping the lots and having people purchase mobile homes. We have looked at purchasing these homes in bulk and having them available. We think, one, that would get the vacancy down sooner and having the homes available. Homes are a little ways out right now. There's a big demand for them. So we've been in contact with some of the manufacturers and what that looks like on time frame. And if you buy them in bulk, you can get them a little sooner. That being said, their quantities 2 to 4 a month is what they allow, and they're about a year out on getting those currently. I've called on financing as well and found some lenders who are willing to finance on mobile homes without a foundation. Looking at that, we're trying to be around the $1,000 a month mark for the owners of these with the lot and the home. They're all single wides, so they're around 100,000 to purchase. And so we have looked at trying to provide all new mobile home units. At this point, we don't have anything under contract, and like I said, it's a little ways out in getting those, but that is an option we have looked at.
Okay, I only see this because I think housing is going to be a big deal in the near future. I see this as an affordable option. Not that that word means anything anymore, but that's all I really have to say.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I just want to say thank you for adjusting so quickly your plan as we requested. I think this adds although it may not be in the comprehensive plan, it adds another level of different housing that's available for people, and I just appreciate you coming back to this with all the changes that we asked.
Thank you.
So.
All right, council members, what do you guys want to do?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I'll make a motion to approve the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation for annexation for Copium Investments located at 370 West 12th South Street and findings of facts.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Kane?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Nay.
Run down to item number 6. All right. A deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission to recommendation for zoning R4 Copian Investments located at 370 West 12 South Street. Findings of facts.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
Can I ask the applicant a question?
Absolutely.
All right. I noticed in here the only thing I really highlighted was the Mountain Home irrigation line easement. How close is that to your property, and what was the potential concern there, Brock? I was just curious what that meant.
There was a potential concern by the irrigation district of there being a underground line there, which was in a tube, and whether or not we're going to have a trailer sat on top of it. I have not seen any sort of document produced yet of the written legal description of this is where it's at. We have not been provided that, but what I can tell you is on their rear, they have a 15-foot setback, and it is believed that the proposed, or the line which is currently there actually runs right along that eastern property line. So I believe we have some good faith to believe that it won't be disturbed. But no, and I can let legal counsel speak more to this. If there was an issue, I believe it would be more of a civil issue with the applicant and also the irrigation district.
All right, council members, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey.
Make a motion that we approve the deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation for zoning R4 for Copium Investments located at 370 West 12th South.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
We talked about, was it storage or parking when you were here last? And you did make a change, right? Yeah.
Yes. So, do you guys have the new plat in front of you?
Yes.
I have an extra one here if you want it, instead of digging through yours. We added there, at the top, you can see those storage parking spaces near the top of your plat there in the middle,
Okay.
above the green space.
Oh, cool.
Could I get one of those from you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can see this.
And I think I was just going to refresh our memory because we didn't want to treat you any different than the code says.
Correct.
And I think that's really key with any of these,
Yeah, so we had under our conditional use permit, we were asking for, I guess, to deviate from that storage space, and we were sent to planning and zoning to correct that. And now we are back with that corrected.
Gotcha. And lastly, I think there was a letter somewhere about a possible fence around the property. Is that
the storage area?
Around the storage area?
No, I think what you're referring to is there was a neighbor to the southwest that had requested a fence.
Mm-hmm.
We will be in contact with them and figure something out.
Okay, cool. Second.
Oh, wait a minute, Mayor.
Councilman
In your storage area,
Yes.
I know I brought up fencing around your storage area. That is in here then?
It is, I believe it's a requirement.
I just wanted to make sure that we had, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? No. Run down to action item number 7. Deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation for conditional use permit for copium investments located at 370 West 12th South Street. Findings of facts. Council members.
There.
Councilman Brennan.
Is this one gonna be, individual individual EDUs per trailer, Brock?
I believe so. Is that correct?
Well, they have to be. They all have to be
Yeah.
individually metered.
Yeah, they're individually metered.
Because we got rid of that because it was some person wouldn't pay, and then there's one giant meter, and then became a nightmare for the ladies up front, wasn't it?
So one
And you
full-
couldn't shut their water off.
And you couldn't shut them off.
Okay, one full EDU per trailer.
Yeah.
Council members.
Also, there, sorry man.
You good?
As far as the property line that you mentioned earlier with the canal running, how many like roughly linear feet of canal frontage do you share?
So it's, from my understanding, I spoke with Dave and Terry with the irrigation district and a couple of the neighbors along the east border. It's a piped underground
Oh,
irrigation line that runs, from my understanding with my conversations, it is right on the property line on the east side. And we've got a 15-foot setback, so we should be well clear of building anything over the top of it. We've had the discussion that if for some reason we do run into it, we could move it into that easement so we don't build over the top of it.
I apologize. I thought it was a
you're
overground
good.
canal, actual canal.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey.
I make a motion that we approve the deliberation and decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation for the CUP for Copian Investments.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Yay.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Action item number 8. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation to amend existing PUD for 10th Street neighborhood and findings of facts. Council members, what do you guys want to do?
I swear.
Councilman Stokes.
Can Mr. Cherry give us a quick little update on this? I had one question on number 25, which was the applicant's PUD request includes a request for a maximum height of 45 feet, which is 15 feet above city code.
Let's see, code 65 feet.
Well, for residential, R4 is 30.
Right, okay.
That's behind.
Yes. Raj Mahal.
The max.
29.
Good, Brooke.
Mayor, City Council, this development actually came before you before. That was phase 1. It was always planned that they were going to do another phase. The first phase, just so everyone knows, that had 24 live-work units, 8 non-live-work units, 4 attached townhomes. And what is being proposed is the western half, which will consist of 76 single-family dwelling units, and a mixed-use building, which will include a daycare facility and 6 multifamily dwelling units. As far as the deviation on height, I believe, and we have the applicant, he can certainly speak more to it as well, was for the sake of having a 3-floor type product. I don't know if the applicant is planning on going that amount. I believe he wanted to have some buffer room just in case, but I will allow him to speak about the architectural.
Yeah, those are live-work units, 3 stories, so we
Okay.
needed that extra roof height.
Okay, so
Simple explanation.
is the entire development 45 feet? I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
Just 2
two buildings that are sort of in the middle of it.
Are those common area buildings with the daycares?
They're not. They're
Okay.
single-family, zero lot line townhomes.
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
I always struggle with PUDs when it comes to variation of our setbacks. And sure, this one has a lot of variation being requested to 3-foot side setbacks, especially. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was this entire council body. We had a lot of struggles with 5-foot side setbacks, and with a 3-foot, I can't even lay down between the buildings and not touch head to toe with a 3-foot side setback. I think it's too close. I mean, it's your product for sure, but I'm not in support of a 3-foot side setback. And basically every setback that we have has been requested to be waived, from front yard side setback 15 feet to 12 feet, and front yard setback, 12 feet to 8 feet setback. So it's hard for me to see the whole plan with as little as this is, but with an 8-foot front setback, you can't even park a car without it extending over into the road or over the travel area, road or sidewalk. So I think the requests for deviation are extreme in this case. The roof height, 3-story, that doesn't bother me. Our fire department has said, am I right on that? Fire department has said no issues, and it's in the center of your complex. Is that right? So I don't personally have any issues with that, but the other ones are rough. And then if the council would appease me for just a second, I'm going to move to a comment that's in our next area, which I'm comparing a CUP to a PUD, which very, very different things, but in my mind, I want to treat them a lot the same, where legal counsel says the deviation from standard CUP cannot be used to conditionally permit a use not so designated in the land use table. And I preface that's coming off of our next agenda item. But you're also asking for a neighborhood like mini storage facility, is that right? And that is like the furthest thing from our zoning rules right now, where you have to have a C4 commercial, heavy commercial, to have a storage unit facility within a or you can't have one within a neighborhood. And I know I'm probably rambling, I'm sorry. A PUD could allow for anything under the sun that you ask for, so I respect that you're asking for it. Man, I don't, that's varying a lot from the underlying zone of an R4, so those are the things that I don't like. Everything else I don't have any issues with. Sorry to paint a bad picture, but there's a lot of good here too. Like, it's a great project.
I'm going to agree with Councilman Brennan on this one with the trucks. I think we did a tour over in Boise and went to a neighborhood, and you couldn't even walk on the sidewalks because the truck back ends were hanging over the sidewalk. You literally had to walk in the road. So I'm going to agree with him on that one for sure. Yeah, the height, I don't care about the height. I'd go high, right, Brock?
And Mayor, if I can just provide one piece of clarification. So from the site plan that's provided, this is all the product, which I believe he's asking for the 3-foot setback on. And it's not designed for people to come park in front of it. All of the parking is around, and it's more of an internal courtyard. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood the overall design being looked at. Because when it comes from parking, I believe he has standard 20 feet parking spaces, all on the sides.
Okay.
So these don't have the problems.
Okay.
Yeah, they
It's
can't
more of
drive
an
into
internal courtyard type of style.
They're all parking.
Okay, makes sense.
Can I elaborate on that a little bit?
Okay.
This plan unit development is designed with 6 different product types to be affordable, I call it attainable. And the variations include everything from the existing Mountain Home Court, which is a mobile home court, to typical single-family front-loaded two-car garage units, and quite a few things in between. It starts with some apartment buildings above the daycare facility. It continues with zero lot line townhomes, which are live-work units, which need that extra space above. It continues to bungalows in that center section where there's surface parking and typical setbacks there. And also the 3-foot setbacks, which when I moved to Boise, I thought those uncomfortable, but have since designed hundreds and hundreds of units where that 3-foot setback allows us to dedicate over 2.5 acres of common space, which include an activity field, sports courts, dog parks, etc. So we're optimizing those lots and we're providing that in common space for other uses. We're all within code, all within fire access limits, etc. Steve Taylor, 3368 Lake Harbor Lane, Boise, Idaho, 83702.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Mr. Taylor, what's the street width within this PUD?
It varies from 22 feet curb to curb to 30 feet.
Okay.
There are 3 different street widths.
Can you pull a map of that up, Brock, where he's talking the widths?
I asked about the streets because that might come up later.
Yeah. All designed to code and with the proper fire radiuses, etc., on the access points. And there will be designated no parking areas or spaces where we're over parked by 10 to 15 units, etc. I know that'll come up later as well.
Okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Could you show us on the map where the 22-foot streets are and the 30-foot streets are?
The 30-foot street is the furthest west. That is where the front-loaded 2-car garage typical unit is designed. The 26-foot unit is between, right, just a little higher, right there, and everything else is the 22.
And that doesn't include the parking
Does
space?
not include, no.
Okay.
From rear parking to inside. And in the center there's a common space. We have common gardens. We have playgrounds for the daycare. We have an activity field. We have sports courts. And then it buffers against the storage units, which are only meant for internal use. So again, we're optimizing lot size, but providing storage for the residential.
Can you point out that location you're talking about?
Above there.
All that space right there. So that'll only be open and eligible to the residents?
Correct.
Even if they're not full, it'll be closed off to the public?
Correct.
Mayor,
Councilman McCain?
I have to agree with Councilman Brennan. I do not like 3-foot property line setbacks myself. However, once you get to 3 foot, fire code does really come into play there to where there's a lot of fire restrictions when you get down to that close of the building to where you're 6 foot apart from each building to building actually. To where building code does allow it. I don't like it, but I can go along with it.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
what will be between the townhomes, that 5 foot of space right there? What's gonna be in between there, or 3 feet or whatever? Grass?
The townhomes are 0 lot line,
Okay,
so they are together.
okay,
The 3-foot setback between the units to the north, 6 foot total, is fenced front and back to to block the condensers, et cetera, of the mechanicals.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, that looks like they're all attached, but this is the true picture, right?
These are just the lots.
Just the lots, okay.
But you have the picture there that shows.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. All right.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I was gonna say, how do, yeah, I thought those were all stuck together. Like, how is the fire department gonna get in there? But yeah, okay, no, I got it. That, I see it.
Just the lots.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Sticking to tradition too, I see the color map with the actual kind of house depiction on there. The single family detached units have a little bit of a significant front yard to them. Is that right? We as a council have kind of maintained the no greater than 50%. What do you call it?
Zero scape.
No greater than 50% lawn.
And we're in agreement with that.
You're in agreement with that? Okay. Well, the only thing I'm really hung up with is storage with residential. You're kind of selling me on it's only open to that neighborhood, so they know what they're getting when they buy into that. But are you going to manage this or
I'm the builder developer.
builder developer? You'll have to help me understand this. So when it comes to those storage units there, are you going to just have a property manager manage them?
The present owner of the property will be the property manager.
Oh, I see.
And it will be a mixed HOA and CCNR that encompasses the entire 20 acres.
Okay. Paul, legal question here. Is it in our ability to like force that in writing that those can only be open to residents within that neighborhood?
No. Wait. Please take that question.
So I guess going back a little bit, I feel like the storage units within a residential zone are completely outside of the underlying R4 zone. It's not allowed. It has to be a C4. But with it being in a PUD, the applicant has stated that those storage units will only be under all conditions rented to the tenants of that neighborhood or the landowners within that plat.
And you're saying that you want to place a restriction on it, given that it's a PUD, that it could only be rented to people that are in that vicinity?
Because I don't like it at all, it being in a R4 zone. But
I would rather you draw the line on whether you want it or don't want it, rather than doing what could be arguably be phrased an ultra vires act by restricting my freedom of contract, laissez-faire. All those things are large principles upon how our country became what it was and separated ourselves from the British. We need to get on the soapbox, but that, government getting in the middle of in the private business enterprise about who you rent to, I don't really prefer not to go there. Sorry to bring up the British Empire.
Sworn enemies.
Yeah.
I can find 2 or 3 ways to get around
Mayor.
that anyway.
Councilwoman Garvey?
I think if we restrict that the storage units be only to the residents of that area, do we restrict the daycare to only be residents? I mean, it's kind of the same principle. So,
the daycare, sorry, Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
The only caveat to that is that a daycare is allowed under a CUP in an R4 zoned area. And under no circumstances are the storage units.
Yeah, and what I can tell you is it's kind of the fad now for some master plan communities to have a designated storage area. So I think we'll see them more. I think that legal counsel is right. This is probably not the best mechanism, but it's probably not going to be the last time you see someone come in with a residential subdivision and be like, I want a storage area, be it for storage units or even a place to put their boats, everything else.
yeah.
Councilman.
That's what I was just gonna say. That's why we, on the mobile home
It's the same
place,
thing.
we wanted a designated
Yeah.
area for boats, trailers, and whatnot. And with this here, there's not enough room, especially, there is no room for these people to put anything. So if they got any toys, any fifth wheels, boats, trailers, anything, they need to go over there.
There's no room with a 3-foot side setback?
Close, close.
Got a kayak, maybe.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey.
Brock, I'm sorry, I was not here for this development when it came through. Okay, so what was it before these, what was it before he was asking for the amendments?
It was, so before he was asking for this amendments, it was only the first half, which was
Attachment A.
attachment A.
Okay, alright. Yeah, you said that's gonna go in phases.
Yes, and this, I believe, is their second phase. Is that correct?
And why are you not doing phase 1 versus phase 2? Or why are you doing it differently?
Well, I asked the city to weigh in on this, but we've had delays in our understanding of vacation annexation. So we had the opportunity to continue on. It's still our intention to continue on with phase 1 and phase 2 as soon as possible.
Okay.
All right, council members, what do you got? Any more questions? What do you guys want to do?
Mr. Mayor, I got one last question.
Councilman Stokes.
How big is this easement between your property and the Silverstone subdivision? What's kind of that easement between you and those residential houses there?
It's currently a sewer easement, and it is 30-some feet.
Yeah, it's something in that area, yeah. There's a good
33
distance in
feet.
there.
Okay, so they're...
It's designated on some plats as an actual proposed road, Plum Street or something like that, and it's just never going to continue down south.
Okay.
Mayor?
Okay.
Councilwoman Garvey.
I was just gonna say, I have to agree with you guys. The 3 foot is kinda, it's pretty close. I don't know what it would look like changing it back to 5, but I have to agree on that.
Councilman Kane.
Well, I want to see what they're wanting to do. I'm ready to make a recommendation. Mayor, I'll make a recommendation to approve Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation to amend existing PUD for the 10th Street neighborhood and finding of facts.
Mayor. Councilman Brennan.
Paul?
Saves time.
With the approval of this, would it ever open up an argument to allow for the storage units in an R4 zone, period?
Well, sure, via PUD type thing, but no, it's still not an allowed use in the R4 unless you amend the zone. Table of uses within the zone.
Yeah.
Which would be a C4 in this case.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would open the door for another PUD, but not for a straight.
No,
Not
it's
for
not
just
allowed.
shit, no.
It's not allowable under the table of uses in an R4 zone. But if somebody wanted to bring forward, I mean, I despise when people make an equal protection claim, so that because you let me go for speeding, because you let that guy go for speeding, you have to let me go too. It doesn't work that way. And so the merits of this application might be different than the merits of some other application, different city council. You know, there are all kinds of reasons why, just because somebody got something before, you're not entitled to it. So that is my, even for a PUD.
Okay.
But certainly not just as a straight zoning argument.
Okay.
There's
Second.
a motion. Second. All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I agree with everyone about the 3 foot setbacks, though if it makes it more attainable, I'm okay with it as long as the building code is all right with it.
Yeah, building code's fine with it. He'll lose more than what anybody's gonna gain out of it.
Yep.
Because building code is strict on that stuff with fire.
Cool.
The motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Man. You know what, like, I've satisfied the storage unit thing, but that 3 foot side setback, every one of us has said I don't like it, and you're voting it into place.
Because we don't like it, don't mean it's not good. Not good.
Oh, man. You've passed already by the vote, so.
We'll call you in first next time.
Yeah. Man, I'm a standard guy. I don't know. The 3-foot thing. He's passed already. I'm gonna caveat my vote by saying I'm not voting this way every time for everybody. Not gonna happen, so I'll say aye.
All right.
Imagine him selecting cereal in the morning.
Yeah.
I know.
God, that was fun.
Run down to item number 9 in new business, sorry. Action. Deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation to amend Mountain Home City Code 9-16B, home occupation criteria requested by Randy Scales and findings of facts.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Can we have Mr. Jerry give us an update on this? How did this come about? What was the problem that needed to be solved here?
So, and I'm glad Legal's here. I think we're going to have a fairly fruitful discussion. So, Mr. Scales, he owns a piece of property in our downtown as a residence. He has desires to do CrossFit classes. He was hoping that he could build an outbuilding in order to do those classes. The home occupation ordinance right on its face says no, you can't be in a detached building. So that's part one of why there was a request to amend the the home occupation ordinance in order, if anyone wanted to deviate from the standards of development that we have, that they could have an opportunity to do so through that process. Now, this is where, as a professional, I respect legal as well. However, I have been in other municipalities where if you do a home occupation, even if it is a use which is not outright permitted in the use table, you're still able to do it. I've seen massage therapists, I've seen dog groomers apply for home occupations where on the use chart it isn't outright allowed, but I believe the intent of the ordinance was because it's so small in scale, because it's limited capacity, that it kind of bypasses. Now, I respect whichever way legal wants to go, but I do believe that that was ultimately the intention of Mr. Scales, was to hopefully amend this, come in for a conditional use permit to state his case of why he believes that he should be able to do a home occupation from a detached accessory building, why he believes that he's not going to cause disturbances, and the entire laundry list of items that we have when someone pursues a home occupation.
Do we have a law firm in Mountain Home that does that?
Sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah.
Mr. Fitzer, what's your thoughts on that?
So the good news is we do allow architects to have an office in the R4 district, but lawyers, sorry, man.
Mayor.
We couldn't afford it anyway.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Okay. I'll save Paul. So I drove by Mr. Scales' property. I am not 100% not for having something in your garage. However, I feel that there will be parking issues. There is not currently parking. His garage is behind his house. It's right next to his backyard, and CrossFit generally brings more than a few people. Also, the parking on 10th is pretty narrow. So I think that we have this in place for those reasons. The other thing is he going to have a lot of music, have a lot of people coming in and out? This is CrossFit. I mean, that would be my only concerns. It's a larger scale than just renting a building downtown.
Mr. Mayor and Ms. Garvey, those are excellent observations. And what's important to know, and what I want to reinstate, so why Ms. Garvey was able to visit it was because it's not an application specifically for Mr. Scales. What he is proposing is for the city code to be changed so that he can make the ask. so that he can apply, so that applicants like him can speak to the various items that we list within there when we talk about parking, when we talk about noise, when we talk about preserving the neighborhood character, that he can at least make the ask. So remember, this isn't for Mr. Skell specifically. This is him amending the code, so it's not only going to apply for him,
his
anyone
letter
else. His letter does say it.
Yep, it sure does. That's why I drove by there.
It sure does.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Mr. Cherry, do you think this opens a Pandora's box, basically?
I can tell you that I've served in other jurisdictions where home occupation was a hearing item, and I have time I'll never get back. A lot of them are kind of hard. A lot of them are tough. A lot of them, it's like, why are we even here?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, you have someone doing something which has hardly any, that no one would ever know.
Exactly.
The only thing that I see of value in this is that it allows all of the home occupations that are already working. So if you meet all of the standards, this doesn't change any of that. It's administrative. Here you go. Hank goes and does his inspection, and that's it. I think this gives an opportunity for people that have something new that we haven't thought of within code, an opportunity to make the ask. Not that we have to say yes. I think the economy is changing. People are living from work. The going to the office is becoming not the status quo. So I like having a toolkit to ask. I hope we don't get a dramatic uptick of now everyone wants to not comply. But I think it's, in my opinion, and ultimately I'll punt it to legal, I don't think it's going to open up a huge Pandora's box, but I've been wrong before.
Councilman McCain?
I read that right. You said a detached building, not an attached building.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure, because I'm going, I remember them being in garages before
You are
now, but it
correct.
was attached, yes, okay.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I'm not trying to argue what you said. I respect that things are going to change and the landscape's going to change. But I happen to have a neighbor that I will not point out, but he likes to run his business out of his house, which is fine, except for that he parks a very large fleet of vehicles. It's not this neighbor, but it's very frustrating. And so I think that to preserve the residential nature, that we don't want to have a lot of vehicles coming down. And again, like I said, I drove by this particular place, and so is the alley going to be bombarded with a bunch of cars, or is the front 10th Street going to be bombarded by a bunch of cars? I feel like that's more of an establishment, a business that is conducive to the business corridor. It's going to be people in and out all times of the day, whatever classes. It's not like, hey, I'm hosting a Mary Kay party, come over to my house at 7 o'clock, real quiet. Just my 2 cents on that.
Mr.
Mayor, excuse me, go ahead.
I agree with Councilwoman Garvey here. You know, we have these districts commercial for reasons. And anyone that buys property in R1, 2, 3, or 4 is expecting some quietness.
Yeah.
I don't want traffic at all times of the day. That's just my thoughts. And this one especially, it being a gym, you're gonna have weights dropped and all sorts of stuff, people grunting. Sorry, I had to say that.
Councilman McCain?
Mayor, I'm going to make a decision not to go with recommendation of planning and zoning and change and amend Mountain Home City Code 9-9-16 home occupation criteria.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Mayor? Councilman Brennan?
We kind of cut legal off, I think, and legal made I don't know if this was you or Jeff, whoever, but somebody said there's definitely a legal explanation in here, and he is disagreeing with that. Can you rephrase or
I don't know what Jeff said, but I can tell you what my only observation is all home occupations must meet all of the following criteria, and then the proposed 10 says, by the way, any proposed home occup deviating from these standards shall require a CUP. I thought they all must meet all the criteria, and then it seems that we toss it out. And then the only other issue that I have with it, and it's not the same thing, but there's a case called Gardner versus Boundary County, wherein the Supreme Court struck down, when it comes to conditional use permits, the infamous catch-all, saying anything that isn't listed here will require a conditional use permit. That was too vague for the Idaho Supreme Court. Doesn't give enough information to your fellow neighbors that you can anticipate this use might come into your neighborhood. Kind of what you're saying about the quiet and no grunting. I don't even want to know what goes on in your house. But it basically is giving some information to the saying you should expect to have these types of home ocs, perhaps, in your zone. And when you say anything that things that don't meet any of the above will require a CUP could fall prey to that same type of analysis that happened in the Boundary County case. It's different. It's not the same thing. But the catch-alls always scare me now because of that. And so if you have a certain type of home occupation businesses that you wish to say, we can anticipate having these types of things in our town because it's been thought out beforehand that they require this number of parking spaces, or it's going to happen at this type of day, or it's going to be this type of noise or vehicles that are there. You can kind of have your list, your items, 1 through whatever it is before that, 1 through 9 before that might wean out some of those things. But then when you put a catch-all that basically says, well, forget the first 9, we'll still look at it as a CUP, that can lead to, or set you guys up for what could be argued as an arbitrary, capricious decision, because what standards then is it adhering to? And so I like to have a little bit more there to say, if you meet these kinds of, just like a CUP, if you meet these kinds of standards, you're not disrupting the neighborhood, blah, 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 that kind of thing, then maybe we'll entertain it. And here's the table of things that we like to see, or that we have at least figured out is not going to be impacting your neighborhood, that kind of thing.
I tend to agree with that.
I don't know what Jeff said.
Okay.
That's what he said.
Do you want me to read it? Just
I don't.
Oh,
You should.
It says further, legal counsel explained that a conditional use permit for deviation from the standards would only be available for those uses identified as permitted or conditional uses in the zone where the proposal would be located. The deviation from standards CUP cannot be used to conditionally permit a use not so designated in the land use table.
That's the Boundary County case.
Okay.
So yeah, we're on the same page. Good for Jeff.
In my history up here, when somebody comes forward with a CUP or a PUD, vast majority of times they just get what they want because they've taken the time to write an application. So I'm done. I'm in line. Yeah.
So there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I made my point.
I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilman. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to go first. Next time. I'll get you next time. Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman McCain. Okay, run down to action item number 10, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission to recommend Zone R4 PUD entitled Falcons Landing and Findings of Facts. Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey.
well, I have to be honest, I don't really care for this village. I also drove out there today, did a lot of searching around here. It's,
We're not on the village.
We're not on the village.
what am I on? I'm sorry.
Falcons.
Oh, gosh, okay. Oh, sorry. I did.
Mr.
I'm
Mayor?
like ready for the village. Bring it on, everybody. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
You should have stopped me.
Mr. Mayor?
Look how they're prepping over there.
Sorry, guys. I totally gave it away.
Hey, are you the village? No.
I know who you are.
Councilman Stokes.
This is Falcons Landing, Findings of Facts.
Falcons Landing, sorry. Oops. Getting ahead of myself.
I might be off as well here.
I know. I'm like, where do I have that one? Maybe that's the one.
Oops.
I think I
Mr. Mayor, can Mr. Cherry give us a rundown of this summary?
It should be before United Metal, y'all.
I don't have it.
This is the Leap Charities one, gentlemen.
This is why we
and
don't have
ladies.
1,000-page
Okay.
packages.
This is the
Yeah, okay.
60 units.
Woo!
As everyone gets coordinated, Mr. Mayor, if it so pleases you, the applicant's here. They have
Okay.
a small presentation.
Come on
They
down.
can give you the facts better than I can.
We'd love that.
Come on down.
And we apologize, we got a stack of paper like this over the
Yeah, it's
weekend.
crazy.
I'm just gonna wipe the sweat from my brow. Do you want to go first, or you want me to?
It's all you, bud.
Okay. Sounds good. My slides. Well, good evening, first of all, Mayor, City Council, and staff. My name's Bart Cochran. I'm the CEO of an organization called Leap Housing. So the slides are just intended to essentially supplement what you've already got in your packet. So my goal is not to repeat everything, but just to maybe provide a little bit of supplementary information about the project. Just a little bit about our organization, Leap Housing. We're an Idaho-based nonprofit focused on decreasing the workforce and affordable housing deficit through the creation of innovative housing projects. We work directly with the community to provide solutions for Idahoans across the spectrum of housing need. So we believe that leads to strong and healthy communities as a result. Our development team's here with us, a handful of us. Lori, our housing director, Johnny O'Donnell, our development analyst, Mary Overstreet is back there, design and asset management, and then Douglas Peterson, our senior development consultant, is with us as well, and we'll stand for any questions you've got in relation to the project. And then just one of the things I just wanted to kind of just a little bit of background. When we look at a project and we're trying to figure out how to approach it, we look at the data is kind of how we start. So we want to understand what the numbers that are behind the felt need in a certain community. So I wanted to share some thoughts. 0%. You can see that number is reflecting vacancy. So our market study reported that all income restricted projects are fully occupied and have active waiting lists in Mountain Home. And if you just look at the market, so we do this is our sort of backwards way of doing it, is saying we ask Zillow how many rentals are available in Mountain Home at any given time. So this tells us that there's a total of 3 vacancies in Mountain Home. This was pulled just before the planning and zoning hearing, and the cheapest one is $1,500 a month. That to us essentially means 0 vacancy. It's effectively 0 vacancy. We also look at average sales price. It's something that's important to us. Many of you know already, but median home price has risen by 27.2% in Mountain Home. That's the February 2021 number to $315,500. I guess that's the Elmore County number. And then we track one more set of data, which we run what are median incomes doing in comparison to median home prices. And so over the last 2 years, median incomes have gone up 8% in Elmore County, whereas homes have gone up 88% over the last 2 years. So that tells us that home prices are increasing at 11 times wages. So this is by far the highest factor that we've seen in the state of Idaho. So we've gone through visiting communities. By way of comparison, Boise is 4 times. So they're tracking at 4 times wages. A little bit more data, just I think probably a good way of putting it, there's a lot of terminology that goes with the type of work that we do around housing. You hear terms like affordable housing or workforce housing. Really simply put, what we're attempting to do is to take local incomes and match them with local costs, local housing costs. All we're really trying to do is align those two things together. And so we look at what are available jobs in the community to try to make sure that we can right-size the housing so that it's affordable to jobs that are actually offered in the local community. So Falcons Landing brings these two things together by offering housing that's in line with incomes such as, these are actual job postings in the community here, a marathon cheese line worker, a school teacher, a mountain home, Air Force Base, tool and parts attendant, just to give a couple of examples. There's lots and lots of other examples. So this kind of housing would be affordable to these types of jobs. So a little bit about the project itself. The site, as you know, is located at South 5th West, near the intersection of West 12th South. It's an 8.39 acre infill site. So we've asked for one variance. We've asked for a height variance to 35 feet from 30. That'll be on phases 1 and phase 4. That's the multifamily building. And we did that so that we could provide a third story, so that we could provide ample parking for the project, and also so that we could vary the roof line to give it some architectural interest. We think the project's a great infill site and location. We think one of the neat parts about it is it's offering both mixed income and mixed use. It's both rental and home ownership. There's no commercial component to it, but it's rental and home ownership both. So LEAP will operate the housing community with on-site management and will maintain long-term ownership of the project. So additionally, we also provide quality amenities and resident services as well. So just a quick tour of the site. Is there any just the laser pointers handy? I got to use it last time. You let me use it again.
Really? Do you know what you're doing this time? Oh, it might be dead.
I can just
That's a
point.
green one.
I can
It
just point
works.
to it. Are you sure?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Just a quick tour. I think this is just help for orientation. There's a lot of lines on this. So South 5th West is here, and then we have connectivity to the new bikeway and walkway pathway here up front. And then essentially the community is designed around an amenity core here. So the central area. So the circulation route, all this is two ways, goes around the amenities in the center. So this is a community building. And then these amenities get built out here. So the multifamily phases are these larger plots here. These will both go into two phases with single family. The single family housing will occur here on the exterior. So up front and then at the rear. So just everything is kind of routed around that amenity core in the center. One of the things we care about is how is this going to impact the community. For obvious reasons, we believe it's going to impact the community positively because it's going to increase housing supply. Bottom line, that's a really important component of it, but we believe it's consistent with the R4 zone. We don't believe there's any negative effects on the nearby properties. There's buffering to existing single-family homes on the boundary lines. To be sensitive to the idea that there's transition in the community, in the neighborhood, direct neighborhood, that's got connectivity to bike and walking paths along South 5th West, which is an indicated priority of the community. It's providing community amenities. You can see in your packet the list of community amenities, but in clubhouse, outdoor recreation, and so on and so forth. Ample parking, 2 spaces per unit, and then open space. We were able to, this is outside of the parking, but we're able to accomplish 35.2% of the site is left as open space. That's a total of 2.95 acres. Comprehensive plan, we believe it's consistent in lots of different ways that Brock mentions in his report, but that housing is among, of course, the top 5 issues in the comp plan, and that this project meets mixed housing types and connectivity, that's 5.9B, increased entry-level homeownership, that's 1E, promote the development of higher density housing, that's 3B, and the promote communities with a range of housing options. So as you can imagine, aligning housing incomes with housing costs is not, it doesn't happen naturally with the market. It requires us to pull together partners in the community to make that happen. And so just a list of just a handful of the many community members who have supported us to make this project possible. In your packets, you would have seen some support letters from community members and organizations that are active here. And we're thankful for everybody who provided a letter of support for this project. And a special thanks to Blue Cross, St. Luke's, and the Boise Regional Realtors who have financially invested in this project to make it possible. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and ask that without hesitation you approve this project.
Hey Bart, I've been working on this project with you for what, 2 years now, 3 years?
Yeah.
Since Courtney was here?
Yeah, yeah.
So, obviously, I'm a huge advocate of this plan, and I think all of us have been here, right? Even, no?
Becky
So,
has.
I guess the frustrating part is, why haven't you started yesterday? Come on, man. People need these affordable units. That we hear that all the time. And I hope you start Mountain Home first before the other two Boise projects, right?
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sounds like an agreement.
Right?
That's right.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
How do you match the wages with the affordable housing, for example? Say the person that's $12 an hour, $16 an hour. How do you take that $33,000 and say, this is what we're going to charge you for rent?
Yeah, the project is what's considered an income restricted project. The majority of the units are tied to a certain amount of area median income, and so we have a number of units that are allotted that way, and then a handful of them are market rate. There's 12 units in the first phase of 60 that will be market rate, but by and large, it requires essentially a subsidy. So a large portion of the capital stack to put this project together comes through low-income housing tax credits, an award that was received this last year. So we're essentially artificially bringing the cost of the project down low enough that we're able to deliver the housing at a price that's below market.
Okay.
Does the state subsidize that then?
It's a federal program through the IRS, but yes, we're allocated through the state through IHFA.
Good. Councilman Brennan?
So would you mind going back to your map of the plat? Do I understand right, that whole center common space is all phase one?
The line is right. Phase one, the amenities will be essentially built in two phases. So you've got the community building is the kind of the core amenity that will end up in the first phase, and actually we would like some flexibility with the build out of the phases. Which one goes first? We found some efficiencies by building the first phase actually in this front section here, and in that case we would just flip the community building just goes here. So this is the community building. So in the community, the amenities will be attached to the two multifamilies. So when the first phase of the multifamily gets built, the first section of the amenities will get built, and then when the second multifamily gets built, the second set of amenities get built.
Can you tell me what are all those things in that line in the center there?
Sure. Let's see. So this is like an outdoor sort of circuit training area here. This is just open space. This is just a grassy area. This is there's like a playground here, and then back here is like a little bit of a sport court. You can maybe see a basketball hoop here, and this is a bike pump station. And then off the wings here, this is these are raised garden beds.
And for long term, after the initial build out, this will be managed by like an HOA or something?
Yeah, it's a little bit like an HOA. Yeah, it's because our organization maintains ownership of all of the. We maintain ownership of the whole thing. We essentially coordinate ensuring that everybody has access to all the common areas.
Okay. I tend to ask this to everybody with a development like this: is you don't have any intent to try to release your main green space to call it a Mountain Home City Park, and then we take over management of that, or cutting the grass. You guys will maintain that for time and eternity?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we intend to keep those as internal amenities to the project.
Thank you. You mentioned buffering. Is the buffering simply? Would you mind just talking about the buffer space around?
Sure. Yeah, you'll see some of it in landscaping. I mean, that's primarily the way that we buffer, but you'll see obviously we're set back off the I'm sorry that we can't see the dimensions here. But you can see we're set back off the road quite a bit. So there'll be landscaping and buffering. Of course, you got the pretty decent sized walkway and pathway here. And then the same thing here. You see how we, instead of just a simple setback, we have kind of a meandering pathway. This pathway is the closest thing we could do with tying it into the neighboring areas. There's some other pathways that are supposed to sort of connect. Our hope is that they'll continue to connect back here. But you can just see we've created this sort of non-building buffer around the edge, and that'll all include landscaping.
Is it all grass?
No, it's not all grass. I think I don't have in my PowerPoint. I don't have a copy of it, but I think we have a landscaping one here. It's a little bit small, but I'm happy to pass it over to you. You can see there's trees. I know we've heard that Brock is a counter he counts all the plants to make sure he put all of them in after it's done. But you can see the landscaping, the trees on the outside there.
Trees and grass. It looks like.
It's trees and grass, yeah, and it's meant to be to focus more on the xeric side to make sure that we can reduce our water usage as much as possible.
Everybody appreciates grass. It keeps things cooler. It often looks better, but as you've heard us talk probably 100 times, is we want to encourage the more dry scaping, less water usage. And so if you can do rocks and decorative grasses with your trees, I think we would all appreciate it.
Mary from our team, she probably is the most credible to be able to describe the landscaping components of it.
So the plan is for as much xeriscaping, as Bart mentioned, but as well, we'll be using native grasses. So the red fescue is a typical turf grass that would be used, but we're also incorporating buffalo grass, which is low maintenance, low water, you don't have to mow it. You just leave it alone, and it provides a nice natural look to the overall landscape. But the main areas where people would be gaming and playing with it would be incorporating a more local turf.
Thank you. Anybody else want to see this?
Mr. Mayor? Art, I was noticing in the drawing, do you only have one exit coming out of this PUD, and is that on South Fifth West?
Yep, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
In and out of, South Fifth West.
Okay, do you anticipate any traffic problems with that at all?
No, we don't anticipate any traffic issues. We cleared it all through fire, and there wasn't any any concerns there. We tweaked the corners just to make sure that we can get an adequate turn for the fire trucks. But it's two ways both directions.
Okay. And
it loops on that back end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's like one giant horseshoe.
Yeah, when you see those the dark blocks across the roads, you're seeing crosswalks.
Okay. And do you also anticipate that 2 spaces per unit is considered ample parking?
It's designed to incorporate 2 units per 2 spaces per unit.
Okay.
That's what it's.
All right, Council. What's
Mayor?
your thoughts? Councilwoman Garvey?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry to get all crazy at first. Anyway, I appreciate it. And this is much needed housing for our community. So I make a motion that we approve the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation to zone R4 PUD entitled Falcons Landing.
Second.
The motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
I knew that was coming.
Aye. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Kane?
Aye.
All righty. We'll run down to item action number 11, deliberation, decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation for preliminary plats of Falcons Landing and findings of facts. Council members, what do you guys want to do?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Mr. Chair, this is the preliminary plat, so we'll come back with a final plat. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation, preliminary plat of Falcons Landing and findings of facts.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? Aye. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Alrighty. All right, thanks, Bart. Thank your team. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We'll get started yesterday.
All right.
Perfect. You start moving dirt, and then make sure ours is done first before the Boise ones, okay? He said it. Alrighty, run down to item action number 12, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation for conditional use permit of United Metals located at 1145 Air Base Road and findings of facts.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
Can Mr. Cherry give us a summary of this? And I was also curious if the applicant is in the room.
We do have the applicant.
Woo!
And
Can we have, yeah.
Council President Stokes, if it appeases you, I would love for the applicant to go first, and then I can fill in any holes.
Perfect. That would be fantastic.
Do you have my presentation on there? I have a flash drive if not.
No reason to print in packets anymore. We're just gonna do presentations.
Then we'll all be screwed up. We don't have this paper to dig through.
We better give more budget to the printing
department. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Stephanie Hopkins with KM Engineering. Address is 5725 North Discovery Way in Boise, 83713.
Tiffany?
Stephanie.
Stephanie, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
So, you heard this project, we initially came before you with an annexation and zoning request, and you made the finding that we should approve it to the C4 district, which is heavy commercial. We initially had requested a conditional use permit to be heard concurrently with that, but I think Councilman Brennan had questioned and wanted us to complete a phase 1 environmental study, which has since been done. We've also done a phase 2 environmental study, which I'll go into some detail about. But just so your memory is refreshed, this property is at 1145 Air Base Road, south of Air Base between 14th and I think 12th. We rezoned it to the C4 district, which allows for storage units, and that was the premise of our previous discussion. Future land use map was consistent with that, which is why you allowed us to rezone. This is our proposed development plan. I'll kind of give you a summary of what we're requesting. So currently there are 3 accesses to the site. We're proposing to close 2 of those access points and to just access via the, I don't know if this, oh there we go, via this driveway right here. So we're working with ITD on getting an access permit to the state highway, and we haven't submitted a permit yet, but we've submitted some parts of it that they've started to review. Once this is, or if this is approved, we'll continue that application with them. There are 4 existing buildings. There's an office and the westernmost storage building that we're going to be retaining. The other ones will be demolished. We're proposing 6 enclosed storage facilities along the easterly and westerly property lines. So that'll be these units here, and then there. And then we're also proposing varying storage units throughout the site, 10 by 10s, 14 by 45s. These units are going to be fully enclosed with large door accesses. We're proposing 54 14 by 40 RV units that'll have canopies, so they'll be covered, but they will be open on the sides to allow easy access. And as you can see, those are kind of centrally located to allow for easy pull in, and then circulation will kind of work around the site so folks can pull in there and easily pull out and onto the main access point. The southerly portion of the 5-acre site is going to be left undeveloped for now. It potentially will be an expansion point for more storage if the property owner decides to do that. There's going to be security fencing around the perimeter of the site with a security gate for access. The gate will be, I think it's right about here, I can't tell on the dimension, but it's about 70 feet from the Air Base Road. So it'll provide plenty of room for stacking if there are a couple of RVs, and obviously room to maneuver if people need to get out. There's also parking at the front for folks that need to go into the office, and then space for the trash enclosure pickup. So This request is consistent with several of the comprehensive plan goals that support economic development in Mountain Home by providing a storage facility for folks to store their items that they can't store at their house. It's going to be compatible with and provide a service to surrounding development. I think storage is a needed thing, and there's not a lot of it in this area, so our client hopes to fulfill that need for folks. And as mentioned, it's consistent with the future land use map designation of commercial for this area. To talk about the phase, so the phase 1 was done, completed. I think this might be in your packet too. I submitted, okay. So you may have had a chance to review, but the first one was done in March. There was still some snow on the ground, so they determined that they wanted to come back and do another analysis. With the phase 1, they didn't find anything that was concerning, but again, because of the snow, they recommended a phase 2 environmental site assessment. They recognized that there would be an environmental condition, so a recognized environmental condition, which is typical of any salvage yard, as Councilman Brennan suspected. If the site's been used to store salvage vehicles, there's likely going to be some seepage of whatever those vehicles used to have in them. So that's a basis for doing a environmental site impact study. So on the page 4, they kind of go through their findings and conclusions. They kind of read through this because I'm definitely not an expert in this area, but I've read through the report, so I can kind of, I think, summarize it for you. So it consisted of a collection of 5 discrete soil samples per 0.1 acres of land that had been used for the salvage vehicle storage. So that was a total of 235 discrete soil samples. They collected and composited those into 47 soil samples that were submitted for analysis. They found in that overall sample 6 composite soil samples, and those were additionally analyzed for PAHs, which I believe are like a sediment and stuff that's not good. So out of all of those samples, they did 4 of the 47 analyzed soil samples were found to contain the benzene and a list of other things that could be harmful. None of those detected analytes were found at concentrations that exceed the state of Idaho's soil cleanup levels that are recommended. So based on the results of this investigation, they did find that significant impacts to the soil were not identified in connection with the previous use, and they recommended that no further investigation be done at this time. So in short, they did their investigation. They randomly sampled soil throughout the site, primarily focusing on areas that had had vehicles. It determined that there wasn't an issue. They did recommend that soil not be used to fill other sites, so it needs to stay there. And there's also, I think, a shallow well that was used for irrigation purposes that they said shouldn't be used for drinking. This property will be annexing to the city, though, so it'll be connecting to city services for water and sewer.
Copy that. So you said you're working with ITD. That one's going to be a task for you because you have 3 openings right now. They're going to make you shut off, I know, at least 2 of them.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's correct. We've actually talked with Sarah Arjona over at ITD about this for a few months, and we've submitted some documentation to her in part of the application, so she's kind of reviewed it, and they are going to make us close off too. Okay. And they've agreed the primary access point that we're showing is the one that they're okay with.
The one by the telephone pole? The farthest one from the other openings?
Yes.
Takes time to get that back, huh, Casey? So you might want to.
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
This was the coolest report I've ever read on the council, so thank you. This is the science report about polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which is pretty neat. I'm sorry, I was geeking out a little bit when I was reading this. I noted too.
Don't know what it is. He just liked the word.
Is it an antifreeze?
It's long chain hydrocarbons. A lot of these have benzene rings, which if you know about benzene rings, they're 6 carbons with double bonds, and they're rotating. Very hard to
I don't know about that, but
degrade, right? But I did note that no soil is or should be removed from the property for reuse as clean fill unless it is first adequately screened for impacts related to auto salvage, blah, 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 blah. That would be the only condition I think we might want to put upon this request. It was also noted that none of the detected chemicals even came close to the lowest recommendation for soil cleanup, which is good. It was neat. Get me more of this.
Council members, Councilwoman Garvey.
I just have a quick question. You said they're going to be enclosed. Is there going to be any cold storage or climate controlled?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Garvey, I don't believe that they're planning on doing any kind of installation in there. I don't know if Casey ever talked to you about that. He didn't. Our client didn't speak with him about that.
It's just needed, Mountain Home.
I could definitely ask them if that'd be something they'd be willing to do.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of military who store their leather couches, and they don't come back to nice leather couches because it's not climate controlled.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Just thought I'd mention that.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes, I would make a motion to approve. Let me look at the wording here. P&Z's recommendation for conditional use permit for United Metals located at 1145 Air Base Road and findings of fact contingent on no soil being removed from the property.
Second.
It's been motioned and it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Run down to action item number 13, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation rezone from a I2 to a C4 to a R4 PUD. The village requested by Robert Nash and findings of facts.
Mr. Mayor?
I'm going to let Councilwoman Garvey go first.
That's what I was going to say.
I need to apologize. I kind of had like a anyway.
I'm giving you a hard time.
Here you go.
Councilman Stokes, go ahead.
I was saying, let's give it to Councilwoman Garvey. Is the applicant in the room? Would they like to come down?
Please. I want to apologize to you guys.
Come on down.
I need to hear it in full. I'll never live that one down.
We're just gonna have to drag it over and extend it so I can give 2 screens.
Yeah, good luck. That's the hardest thing to do. It's like drag them on.
This is why I brought my daughter.
The smarty pants.
Hold on there. Oh, it's gonna work again. All right, I'm done. I'm going home. There you go. Just hold it right there.
Okay. Well, my name's Rob Nash. This is my daughter, Shelby, my favorite daughter of my 4. So, and this is my partner, Todd McCauley. So we want to thank you. We know it's getting late, so we'll try to be brief. So what brought us out to Mountain Home was we found a piece of land was presented to us, and when we came out here, we started doing research and we started looking. Read your website, which is a great website, and referring to the mayor's 2021 comments about trying to achieve the city's goals of housing, economic development, managed growth, and he talked about trying to streamline and remove red tape to help meet this need, really a huge need for housing in Mountain Home. And I want to thank Brock and Rich and Brenda, who's not here tonight. We've had a ton of meetings, a ton of calls, countless emails, and they've been super responsive. And from what we started out with what we have now, it's come a long way. And I want to say, my partner Todd is on Eagle Planning and Zoning. No offense, Todd, but Mountain Home Planning and Zoning is pretty tough to beat. And so we're grateful for the courtesy that's been extended to us.
So, click to the next slide. So, picture's worth 1,000 words, and so basically the village is it's 8 24-plexes, and there's 192 total units. We were able to get quite a bit of common space and have several amenities, and what we were trying to do is make a community within a community. And you can see the amenities are listed. We have a clubhouse, a pool, a playground, picnic area, a basketball court, pickleball court, which is all the rage in the country, and a dog run. We also have the purple parking stalls are garage spaces, and we have 392 parking spots. We have about 2 per person or per unit. So, and then we tried to work hard, go to the next slide, on creating a really nice, aesthetically pleasing unit. And so that's kind of the elevations and stuff, and we think it will have a really nice curbside appeal and be a really nice place to live. So, just really briefly, the property profile is, as was stated, we are proposing zoning of R4 PUD from its current zoning. And in planning and zoning, there was some concern about this property. We believe that the highest and best use for this property at this time for Mountain Home is multifamily because of the need here, and we're going to show some of the impact and economic benefit to the community. To address this concern, Todd pulled the property profile, and between 2012 and 2018, the property was listed for sale 15 times and it never sold. So we think the highest and best use is what we're doing. And, you know, this property has sat vacant for 30 years. I know that Union Pacific wrote a concern that they really want the railroad, and, you know, there's been ample opportunity for that to be developed. We think, which we're going to, hopefully will show, is the benefit that Mountain Home and the community will receive. We don't, that's just all the listings that we showed there. Okay, next slide. Okay, next slide. One of the things in this location is that, you know, part of the goal of the city was to revitalize downtown, and, you know, 192 units, and, you know, if you figure, you know, 2 to 4 people, that's a lot of people. That's going to impact the downtown area immediately through economic benefit. One of the benefits, it's going to be about $25 million to build. That'll generate, obviously, a lot of stimulus, a lot of jobs in the economy. One of the biggest challenges that we saw is that there are so many people working in Mountain Home, including a whole bunch of people from the Air Force Base who don't have housing. There is so much data, and I know you guys know this probably better than I do, of so much money leaking out of Mountain Home. And just if you took 192 people at 1.5 workers, you're talking between $11 million to $14 million conservatively a year that people are taking outside of Mountain Home. They're working here, but they're taking it, they're renting, they're shopping. You know, all these businesses are not benefiting. I know there's a big push for commercial, but, you know, my experience is that commercial follow rooftops. And, you know, I had a buddy that bought land in Cuna 5 years ago. He was just approached 4 months ago by Walmart and Lowe's because they're following the rooftops because Cuna is growing so much. We think Mountain Home is so untapped. I'm a little bit curious why more people haven't come, and I talk with a lot of developers, and I just don't think anyone's come out here. I don't think there's been a project maybe like this ever with the pool and amenities, but even a multifamily, a large one, since 2008. We think that this can be a catalyst to, you know, and it's needed. You know, if I have 6 kids, if I'm choosing a place to live or work, and I have to use an hour and a half or 2 hours of my day to take away from my family, that could be spent with my family coaching baseball, soccer, plus all the gas. That is a huge sacrifice to work here and have to go somewhere else where there could be housing here. The impact fees, I'm not really clear. Can you go back?
Yes, sir.
I'm not really clear what the impact fees were, but at the time I did this, there's about $230,000 of impact fees. One of the challenges, and I'm not going to get into this, to build out in Mountain Home, the houses sell for less and the rents are quite a bit less, but it costs exactly the same. If there's a $400 or $500 difference in rent between Boise and here, you know, that's about $65,000 a month to $90,000 depending. It's almost $1 million a year of rents. And so it's not totally comparing apples to oranges in my view of comparing it to, you know, even Caldwell gets $1,600 or $1,700. We are doing some projects out there. You don't get the same amount of rents. And to underwrite this, I am all about win-wins. I'm all about paying our share and everything. I would just hope, I would just hope we'd like to do more stuff that it makes it so it pencils out. There has to be some mitigating factors to come to Mountain Home because you don't get the rents and you don't get the same price. Anyway, there's a huge economic benefit. The property taxes are huge. It's kind of like if you add all this stuff over a 10-year period and look at the benefit that it brings versus, I'm all about doubling impact fees to it there. It could price people out of the market if they go too high, but I think overall there is just a huge economic impact benefit and that will fulfill a huge need in Mountain Home. So I think that I will stop rambling. I will say two other quick things. The two of the concerns that were brought up with P&Z were the safety. I had heard Councilwoman Garvey talk about roads that have to be repaired. My experience is developers are responsible. We're responsible for redoing Fifth and doing curb gutter and sidewalk and up around Haskett. So that is a cost that's on us that does directly benefit. I think it was Brock's idea to do a enhanced safety light for that section that's in question. That's a no-brainer. We're happy to do that. The other concern was the railroad tracks being there. I actually grew up in Anchorage with railroad tracks behind our house, and we used to put pennies and they flattened them. But for the for the safety of the kids, we are actually going to do a fence, and that deals with the kids in this community. And I'm not being presumptuous, assuming you'll approve this if we were fortunate to get it approved. I know there's a lot of mixed use right around there. There's a lot of multifamily already there. So this isn't like, I mean, this is right next door. I would think that this would be a buffer and it would be appropriate to have some signs, some safety signs and whatnot. I can't fence property that's not ours and control kids that's not ours, but we will fence it and hopefully have adequate signage that warns people about that. So I think those were the two concerns that we had. So,
sir, what was your name again? I'm sorry.
Robert Ash.
Robert.
10365 West Highlander Road.
Well, it's right there on the piece of paper. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't read. In the impact fees, you have to understand. So Haskett is probably, I'm gonna just say my piece on Haskett. Haskett is probably the most dangerous cross street in the city right now with no light, and I think that's what maybe Brock was kind of alluding to. That's why we have to have these impact fees to pay for growth or to pay for street roadways, but also have the opportunity to pay for a light if the highway or if ITD isn't. We partner with them as well, but that's my 2 cents, and maybe that's what Brock was. Is that where you're trying to go with a safety light, or what were you trying to?
So the safety light was not the light mentioned in the TIS, the traffic impact study. There was immediate concern about children who would cross Fifth going down to, I believe, West Elementary.
That was mine. I said, Mayor Council, that like we have like any of our safe crossings from school where we can hit the button and they flash.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So it'd be crossing Fifth so they can get across to go walk to West Elementary.
Okay, makes sense. I thought we were talking about Haskett and Air Base Road.
You are correct that we did have the conversation.
That's a hawk,
that
that's too big.
The impact fees are important because what it does is it allows all of the development in that area, just not what is proposed, but we have the industrial rail park, everything else. As they pay into that, it's more of a collective share that goes into paying for that
sure.
ultimate infrastructure that you're referring to.
Correct. Well, and I had the privilege of driving down Fifth Street this weekend and about beat me to death. I know 10th Street is bad, 6th Street's bad, 5th Street's bad, 12th Street's bad. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just getting off my own soapbox here because I was driving around this weekend and yeah, 5th Street, it's getting beaten up pretty good.
So, Mayor, and forgive me if I misspoke, we are all in favor of impact fees. It's just the amount, and when we started this project, like, you know, we're ready to go. We have our construction docs being drawn up. You know, we will submit to Rich. I think Rich has a quick turnaround time. We're all about that, changing them so far in the game, and we're fine. We're just hoping that it doesn't go up so much because, you know, it's like you start somewhere and then all of a sudden halfway through and we still don't know. We can't underwrite this yet because we don't know. And that's, you know, it's a big ticket. That's a $500,000 or $600,000 swing. But we are improving Fifth. And my own feeling is kind of the cart before the horse. These developments provide so much over time that it's like, who's going to take the first step? You know, we did do a traffic impact study and they're like, it's a failed system. This will not add to the failure, but this is the means and this will provide the amount of money in commercial business that this will attract. I just think this will be a catalyst that is going to provide growth if that's what the city, you know, wants. And, you know, and that's, you guys is just.
Hey, Rich, did this warrant any, like, on section 3 or 5, did it warrant anything from like ITD? No? Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
Mr. Nash, thanks for coming. Great presentation, I appreciate it. I have a few questions, if you don't mind. The first is, you've done a great job doing a lot of research and comparing Mountain Home to, like, other municipalities in the Treasure Valley, whether it's Kuna or Boise or Caldwell or Eagle, I think you mentioned. Have you done any cost comparisons on how much land costs in Mountain Home versus those other cities?
Yeah, the land is definitely cheaper, and that's one of the reasons that we can come out here, you know, and you know, and do it because rents are different, but costs are the same. So
the cost to build, but the cost to acquire the land makes it probably desirable for you to come here, right?
Yeah, the numbers work. Yeah, it's not like 20%. I mean, we paid a pretty good amount for it, but the numbers work. Yeah.
And then in the, let's see, what is this? It's not the findings of facts. It's there's the findings of facts. Finding of fact, paragraph 10 says the applicant's PUD are requesting that the required sidewalk along North Haskett be built only to the first entrance to South 5th. And, or South Haskett, sorry. And there's 3 entrances here, right? 1, 2, and 3?
Yes.
I don't know why you'd do the sidewalk just to the first one. I did have a short conversation with Brock, and although there's not much up this direction but industrial stuff, everything in that area is going to grow, and we're going to have it's slated for an industrial park, you know that, and there's job opportunities up that direction too. So I think per our ordinance, I would want you to sidewalk that whole thing. I don't know why you wouldn't sidewalk it, just assuming that everybody's going to go down towards West 5th North.
So, Councilman, so one of the things is there's massive power lines right there, and it would require a major amount of work to do it. And so when we were talking with Brock and Brenda and Rich, we decided that you know would be, you know, a good way to go, a compromise that we can't have unlimited to make the project work, off-site improvements, and and, you know, if you do go out there, there really is nothing there. I assume that will go industrial, which not a lot of pedestrians will walk that way, but I don't know. I do see your point, and it's well taken, but that's kind of there are big power poles that would totally have to be removed, located. That street would have to be torn up. I mean, I don't know that the project would be feasible if we had to do that.
I mean, with power lines, I'm not a developer, so pardon my brain here, but couldn't you do like a meandering sidewalk to kind of go around the power poles that are there? Or doesn't our ordinance right now require you to redo half of that road?
We are on 5th Street. We're doing half of 5th Street and the curb gutter and sidewalk.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, I can kind of address that
Right,
a little bit.
but I think what he's trying to say is, per our ordinance, he has to sidewalk. Not so, we don't need to replace the road, because the road's good, but I thought per our ordinance, he has to do the sidewalk.
And Mayor, Council, kind of when we looked at that, so again, when we looked at it was industrial, what we were doing, because we know that we're gonna have, whatever is called Helen Street's gonna run parallel to Fifth out that way, so that's where we get the sidewalk to, because you can go back that way to go in industrial. We just wanted to basically, you know, that's not the way our past system was kind of going with that, so we wanted to make sure that people could get around the corner, still be able to walk in and look at those things. I mean, that was, again, this was a PUD, so those are some things that they can deviate from this, but that's kind of why we looked at it that way. And they will have to do half the street on South Fifth West, but Haskett's pretty much a brand new road. We don't want to cut into half of it. That was why.
And then the pass system goes down 5th Street, though, on the right-hand side, I thought. Is that why that was your thought
That's why it
process?
has to go around and go back to towards the city with the pathway system.
Also, so with the, there's more horse trading. You want to deviate, what are you going to give to the city? What are you going to provide? And another thing we recognized was the amount of amenities that they were providing. SAR by far surpasses the minimum of, I think, 2 amenities that you're supposed to provide. So it was in linking with, it's a rail industrial park, you want limited pedestrian, people walking there anyway, plus you're going to be giving all these amenities. That's one thing that we saw fit for the applicant to ask with the planning.
Can I continue?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were gonna cut you off.
So I'm just gonna say I disagree with everybody that was in that groupthink discussion there. I think the sidewalk needs to go out. We don't know what's gonna go in that industrial area. I think there's maybe some things on the horizon for possibilities, and I definitely see people walking to work, and they may not all have to come out to West 5th North to then go that direction, especially if there's a buffer zone that they're talking about. So if there's this buffer, then the work sites are going to all be back a little further over there. So that's why I would want that sidewalk to go all the way to the back of the property per our ordinance. Also, paragraph number 11, we've kind of talked about this, you hit on it, but per the applicant's PUD request, they're requesting to pay the impact fees in effect of 3/7/2022. And then there's a note that basically we don't have the authority to tell you what your impact fee is going to be now versus the impact fee that's in effect at that time. Is that right?
That was the termination by legal.
So I'm not going to I don't know that I can, if legal's listening, if I can just willy-nilly say, yeah, you can pay that impact fee now, and we don't know when you're going to build out, or when the project comes to completion. So I think, unless we haven't obviously finished our impact fee discussion yet, and it looks like it's a couple months out still, but at the time of building permit, I think whatever our ordinance is what would apply to you.
Could I respond to that?
Absolutely.
So one of the things in the development agreement, because we have been working on this for a while, we were wanting to get going this summer, and we couldn't have it up in the air. I can't say, okay, it's either going to be 200 or 768,000. I mean, I can't do it. I can't underwrite it. Our capital stack, everything is. And so I've been anxious to try to say, can we get this nailed down? And if you see in there, we said, would it be okay if we just said, okay, can we double it, increase it 100%. We weren't saying, no, we don't want to. I will say that it was a little bit discouraging when we started this and we ran all our stuff, and then all of a sudden we purchased the land, we spend, $100,000 in engineering and everything else, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's a punch to the gut.
I feel you. I've been arguing to your benefit there the whole time.
Yeah.
It sounds like legal's not going to let us go the direction I wanted to go.
Yeah, and so a development agreement is a negotiated thing, which we've done with other cities, where we've agreed to something in the development agreement, because we just can't do and say, okay, whatever city, okay, do whatever you want, because we're between a rock and a hard place, and it's a little bit disheartening because we have invested a ton of time and money, and we're hoping it's, reasonable that it works, but anyway, and so it wasn't, I was saying we were trying to negotiate that in the development agreement respectfully, and, we offered it, at least double, or just say, please tell us what it is so we can get going. And until we know that, it's like, if we were fortunate enough to receive approval, we would have construction documents submitted probably within 30 to 45 days. Rich needs to review them and get back. The summer is here, and our anticipation would be we'd start the first building, have all the horizontal done, and start late this fall. Supply chain issues notwithstanding.
Yeah, I feel for you on the impact fees. I've been arguing to that effect for as long as possible. So if under legal umbrella we can help, I'm open to the idea. But if we can't, then it would be where we're at the time of your building permit. Real quick, I know I'm stealing everybody's time. I just kind of want to get all my ideas out at once here. The traffic there were people that talked to you maybe talked to you or spoke up against the traffic pattern flow at the planning and zoning meeting. I don't know who said it, but I agree that there's going to be real potential impact for the railroad crossing right there. It's not really well constructed right now. There's a very short stacking area before you come into the intersection on North Main Street, and we've already had to take care of a traffic flow pattern. We made a no left turn there after you cross the tracks going over towards the little industrial area, which I think is working great. But I've said it 100 times, is that I think the railroad itself, the railroad cars that travel through our community are single-handedly probably the most dangerous thing in our community, with the hazmat that's on board, all those things. And I see this as creating to a lot more stacking around the railroad tracks. We've got Marathon Cheese that has 3 times a day mass traffic coming through that area, along with all the other residents. And it would be my idea, and I'm not sure how the traffic engineering would look, is that if I could paint a picture for you, if you're coming out of the neighborhood on Haskett Street, coming to the intersection of West 5th North, to make that a no left turn right there, so that we're not having cars stacked to the railroad tracks there, but rather forcing cars all the way out to Airbase Road, where we can control that with a stoplight, or going the other direction towards Elmcrest and Marathon Cheese. If everybody could agree to that, and I haven't thought through all the implications. I'm not a traffic engineer by any means, but I think that would help us out with the railroad crossing a ton. And then finally was going to be the traffic safety light that I think Brock mentioned for crossing. We don't have any crosswalks going across. I think the mayor mentioned this too. Any crosswalks going across West 5th North right now, and kind of the good sidewalk is on one side of that curve after you cross Taco John. So everybody who crosses that street crosses at a uncontrolled intersection, and so that has to be addressed. And whether it's through the use of your impact fees that you would pay, we would install some type of a light like this. Brock says yes, Rich says no, that's too much to require. Whatever it is, I personally don't really care for the crosswalk lights that we have in Mountain Home now, because they're only 2 directional. You can only see them to the sides, you can't see them out in front of you. If you're in the crosswalk, you're number 1 in the stack at the crosswalk. So, as an example, if I don't know how familiar you are, but you go down American Legion all the way to you have to turn left on North Main. There's a disaster there, and I think Rich is trying to work through that now. But there's flashing lights all around you, but not in front. And you're looking left. You're looking right for traffic because it's a one-way street, but all the flashing lights are over here on your left, and the crosswalk's over here. It's a disaster. And I would have hoped it would be fixed by now, but it's not. And so something that we can do that gets 360-degree angled lighting for a crosswalk would be best. And maybe we pay for that out of the impact fees, but I think we probably all know and agree that Air Base Road and Haskett has to have a controlled traffic light intersection, because as your traffic impact study says already, it's already receiving a failing score, and it's not going to get any better with this development. I'll rest there for now.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey.
Okay, first I want to apologize to you guys again. I apologize for my crazy little outburst. I like the project. I think it's a well thought out project, something that Mountain Home's never seen. Again, that's kind of more Brock's words on that, but I don't like the location. I don't like the fact that it's industrial, it's commercial, it's got 2 railroad tracks. What's the plans for the railroad tracks that cross? The one crosses through the property. Is that, am I not far enough back?
Yeah, it doesn't go on our property.
How far back is it from your property?
If you had to go do the site plan, you want to walk us through that? So we're fenced off and it's separate.
Do you know how many feet from that? I mean, I know that railroad track's not used. It's okay. It's okay. I drove out there today, and so I was just kind of checking it out and trying to get a lay of the land.
Well, he's pulling that up. If Union Pacific or someone would come in there and do a massive industrial park, the whole challenge with Mountain Home, there is no place to live. You cannot build a business here because you can't get employees and pay them a reasonable rate and have them go to Boise and pay Boise rents and spend all that gas money in 2 hours. And so it's kind of like the cart before the horse. And I agree, but nobody's done anything for 30 years. And so we're like,
sure,
would this work? And so,
I grew
Councilwoman,
up here, so.
you are correct. It's just like, and it's like, are we going to leave all this money on the table for the next 30 years until, Union Pacific or someone comes,
And the other thought about the crosswalks, could we do something like Boise where they go over the road? Because 35 miles an hour, those people coming up and down Air Base Road, and you have your little kids crossing, or even adults crossing. It's quite scary, and it's hard to get both. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There just needs to be a better system, I think, if we're going to think about that in the future, and I don't think that that's necessarily your problem, right? I feel like it's Mountain Home's problem, but it could be potentially.
Yeah, we'd love to see it.
Yeah.
We think this is part of the solution of providing money and funds, and I think we already agreed in the last thing to do one of those crossings for safety first and foremost. No one wants to have the worst day ever, with a child. And so, yeah, first and foremost, but it's like, this is part of the puzzle and the solution long term, because there's those roundabouts, there's traffic lights. I don't know if you guys have a master traffic plan, but we'd love to see it too, because getting people here, we're here because Mountain Home's a small city, not,
And what are your plans for these 188 or however many units? Are you keeping them all?
Yeah, it'll be a single owners.
It's about 243, 250 feet.
About 300 feet.
Yeah, about 300 feet from their line to
the railroad.
To the
The
railroad.
one that crosses through the property? You know what I'm talking about. There's two railroads right there.
It's the spur up north.
It's a spur. Yeah, their property doesn't go all the way.
Okay.
Their property is.
Okay.
And then our future traffic pattern, actually, we're going to go, and maybe Rich can expound on it, try to get all this industrial traffic to go this direction and over the rail line, so nobody will literally be on Fifth Street. And you can show them kind of the thought process for the 6-acre parcel, the industrial park. Do you have
Yep.
Eventually, in a perfect world, we'll have it We're trying to get rid of one crossing to go back and obtain, was it McMurtry's crossing?
Yeah.
Over off of Highway 30 there. And have trucks go that direction so they don't go down Fifth Street anymore. If they do, it's just from Marathon to the Solar Light, or not Solar Light, but that road, but what do we call it? I can't remember.
Elm Crest.
Elm Crest, yeah.
So what the mayor's referring to is we know that this is our pride and joy, the future rail industrial park. Having met with multiple people who do RFIs, real estate agents who do these types of deals, they say, you know, your rail's great, but right now your roadway is the most important thing. Even more than refurbishing that rail is your direction of your truck traffic. So what they say is what your top priority should be is to extend Elm Crest all the way to Old Highway 30 up here. And once that's solved, your logistics as far as truck traffic, everything else is done. And all of your TISs, this area right here, this little buildup kind of gets relieved also. And I just want to touch on what Councilwoman Garvey stated. It's an amazing project. If we had a good, better, best, and we had a better place for it, I would love to put it in a better place. What some of the things that I would encourage you to look at is, I wish there was a place downtown where there was nothing there where we could just put it, because there is substantial impact with having people live in close proximity to downtown. It's opportunities that a lot of cities are now paying millions of dollars with huge URA products. Meridian, Idaho is trying their hardest to get high density downtown where it's appropriate for those types of products. If you look at your future land use map, we kind of have a different kind of area. You have single family residential. We have our rail industrial park, and we don't want to put industrial right near them, so we're going to do a buffer of commercial, which could be multifamily, it could be office, it could be X. It's sort of a strange area. I think that needs to be acknowledged. I can tell you staff's greatest concerns all come down to life safety. I have a little daughter who's going to be a kindergartner at West next year. This year. I'm not going to cry. And it's safety for all of the children going here to here is paramount. Having this intersection already be a failed intersection is difficult. I believe that's Mayor when I was saying, you know, that's why we kind of have impact fees, is so we can mediate some of those items. I hope it's included in our master transportation plan that gets started sooner rather than later. I think all of you have seen the value of having that plan updated, and we have so many traffic impact studies that will hopefully save us a lot of money from all of the projects surrounding it. So there are pros and there are cons, and I hope that's illustrated within my staff report that I have for you. If we can make it work without harming people, without harming the overall area, I think there's some value there. This is not a project that we routinely see in Mountain Home. It's something that having this as a comparable could be extremely beneficial, but you know, if that's not going to go there, kind of what is. It was impressive that the applicant took it upon themselves to show you that, you know, it's been on sale for industrial use, and perhaps it just hasn't been marketed correctly. But all things to consider.
All right, council members, what do you guys want to do?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I'm going to sum up my thoughts as quickly and as succinctly as I can. I agree with Councilman Brennan on the sidewalk first, on that on the Haskett side. I think you should go to all three entrances. 13 subsection E, subsection I, staff recommended potentially requiring a crosswalk to allow children to move more safely across West 5th North Street. I think that's paramount. And then in 14 subsection F and I, City Street Department staff indicated that the street traffic capacity regarding street structural integrity was not capable of handling both current and anticipated vehicular traffic adjacent to the site. So I noted that. But again, I would agree with you on the impact fees, right? I don't think this is a proven market over here, and I could only imagine the underwriting of such a project when you're writing this all up, getting your documents in order, and all of a sudden the fees go up to $1 million or something, whatever it is. It's somewhat unfair. Just my opinion. I don't speak for the council or the mayor, but I do understand the importance of impact fees, but then again, we have an unproven market, the recession that I'm calling, it's coming, and an unproven market for this product. So just my general thoughts.
Mayor.
Councilman McCain?
I can agree with many of the things council has said. I've just got one question. Out of 199 units here, I guess you're going to make everyone move their RVs or anything off-site to store them then?
Yeah, there would be no RV. I don't see a lot of people in, two-bedroom that have RVs typically. I mean, but they're.
I've seen a lot of them around here that are parked there.
Okay, yeah. So, someone was doing a storage unit, so so maybe we can provide some business for them.
Yeah, because out of 199 people, I see a lot of things getting parked everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think we are amenable to other type products when we say sidewalk. So if you go and you take 18th Street, what we ended up doing was it wasn't concrete, it's asphalt. And it's 10 foot wide, and asphalt's cheap, right? Or let me rephrase it, that's all relative. Asphalt's cheaper than concrete, So maybe if it's not solid concrete, obviously put the curb and gutter in, and then you can do asphalt and make it 10 feet, make it a sidewalk meandering around the power poles.
That's fair.
I mean, we've done that. Like I said, where else do we do that? We have it kind of planned to do it at going down Fifth Street actually with our path systems. So just food for thought. That's sorry, Councilor Brent. Go ahead.
I did have an opportunity to talk to Gene, right, over at Streets about North Haskett. I think the conversation implied what Councilman Stokes brought up was subsection FI about the street capacity was or was not capable of handling both current and anticipated vehicular traffic. That street has an incredible, crazy slope to it, and I don't even know how to describe it, but I think we all know North Haskett there has to get redone. It has to get widened in a certain area. Probably has to be, what do you call that slope thing that really cuts down?
Crown.
Yeah, it's only on one side of the road.
Yeah.
Crown's crazy down, and with the stoplight. I'll be honest, I got no problem with your product. I just want to work out the traffic issues. Ultimately, is what it all boils down to. How I see it is, you came first to the market. There's been no other industrial companies that have said we're building, we're coming, and so I tend to give preference to the first come first serve kind of nature. So I would approve it. Hey, we could put a sign over there that says, if you're going to live here, you need to know that this is going to be a future industrial park right here. For fair disclosure, something. The only thing that's got me is the traffic, and I don't want all of your traffic trying to go over the railroad tracks there with everybody else that's already crossing there. As far as the conversation about closing that crossing, I'm going to be honest with city staff, that's never been asked of me, but I'm never going to support that. In some way, shape, or form, I think we have to have Union Pacific come back to the table and say, you're growing fast enough, and at 4.1% growth for the last 10 years. Now we'll support a third crossing in the city.
So let me rephrase it. We're not going to close that one. We're closing. We just wanted to close the one clear out off of Highway 13 or something, or 30 or something.
He has one on his property.
On his own property. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Like West Fifth Crossing. I was like, what?
No.
Okay.
No.
He was going to try to negotiate, get rid of his crossing in it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Whew.
Because Union Pacific don't come back to the table.
Can I just ask you, how would you feel if my idea had a no left turn to go towards the railroad tracks? They had to go out Haskett or down towards the cheese factory in Elmcrest.
A right in, right out off of Haskett only.
Right
No.
No, I think
Right
strictly just a no left turn going out
no left
onto
turn right
West
there.
Fifth.
So you can come into the
Yeah.
How would you
See,
do that?
And I don't know how you design it. It's possible. Everything's possible, right?
So I see your madness. I'm gonna throw you a curveball, Mayor. Do you mind?
Well, obviously
Business
you're
back
just gonna
there.
do it.
Sorry.
Trucks.
Why not just make that first crossing one way so that the truck drivers aren't going over our curb and ruining it? They can't turn right off of Main.
We could make
They can't turn right. They can. It's only come into town off of it.
I
and
like
it's
that.
a one way.
Because then they're chewing our brand new curbing gutter, you know.
And then you're not. They can't make your left turn that was closed off.
So it's
It's
one way
only-
in, not an
What
exit
about all the
towards
people that
downtown.
live over there and trying to go that way?
They would have to go down to the next crossing and get over
yeah,
and
right.
come down Haskell.
Sure.
I'm just saying, like,
Pissed.
well, that's we added a 4-way at 10th years ago. I'm just throwing it out there. There's a lot of damage. We redid that curbs how many times? Once a year for the last 5 years.
Yeah,
The ADA curbing, both of them are gone.
we got to put a pillar in there. Sorry, we're getting
We're
squirrely
way
here.
off board here.
I'm just saying.
Does property tax, can it be allocated for roads? Because
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
own the roads. Yeah.
Not ITD road though.
But you guys own all the city roads like Fifth and Haskett. So between the impact fees and this property tax, just like a couple roundabouts, it seems like there's some good solutions here. You guys don't even need engineers. You guys just mapped it out right now. But I
I'd have
think
to
this
see how
is.
Actually, it would be no
Wolfpack
truck
goes.
traffic if
Yeah.
you want to do it. Like cars, no problem,
but
but
they
no
don't turn
truck.
and go out that way.
Mayor,
It says no.
Councilwoman Garvey.
have you guys slept through a train?
I have tracks in Anchorage where I grew up that went
Yeah.
through, and you know what? I do not to this day. Trains don't bother me.
I
got
just
used to
only
it,
offer that because in the future, if our rental market takes a turn for the worst, you guys may not be the favorable rentals, because we have a lot of multifamily units coming here. So just food for thought.
Have you seen our pickleball court?
I don't play pickleball, so if you talk golf all day long, let's do this.
They might be the only pool in town.
Yeah.
I'm good. I got mine, so.
You can hear the train anywhere.
I'm just saying, like,
It's not ideal. When I went out there, I was like, ugh.
Food for thought. I mean, I have known people that have lived in those little apartments across the tracks, and it is very loud. It's very noisy. And then you have Wolfpack coming through there, and then you add Marathon Cheese, and then you have Sam's Place. It's just a lot in that area.
I'd love to see a traffic a solution because there's no one more interested in that. It's tough to get someone, renting when it's. I think it's okay. We've been out there and stuff. I don't think it's ever not everyone goes out at the same time, and we hope to fulfill the need of the airmen. And they're different times of the day. They're not necessarily always 8 to 4.
Okay, council members, what do you guys want to do? Sorry, Brock, I'm not trying to cut you off.
You're good. I'll make a motion, and the council may not agree with me. That's okay if not. But I would make a motion to pass planning and zoning's recommendation. Sorry, let me get the language. For rezone from I2 and C4 to R4 PUD contingent upon the sidewalk going all the way back to the end of their property and at this time entering into an agreement where the cars will not be able to turn left coming out of your development onto West 5th North. You want to sigh a little louder?
There's other ways.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I was gonna wonder how you could police that with, you got Wolfpack Pellet over there, or they're gonna take that road and take a left too.
They're not allowed to.
Yeah, you can't.
It's already designated a no truck route.
There's the truck route stops. Right, they have to turn at Haskett. If there's a no truck sign right in front of Haskett before you go.
You mean like the one that says no left turn where they turn anyway?
Yeah. What we should do is put up those little things they do at like Maverick, so they can't turn
I
left.
hate those.
I do too, but
It's going to be a disaster with letting all that traffic go over the railroad tracks. And enforcement's a choice, chief, right? Like, if officers choose to enforce it, hopefully they do, but I'll tell you what, I'm probably the #1 enforcer over there, that no left turn.
Duly noted.
She is. I'll agree with that. We'll sit there. Okay, so there's a motion. Do I have a second? All right.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan.
I've learned your order and the way you call things. Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Nay.
Councilman Garvey.
With all due respect for everything you guys have done, I don't care for the location, so I am a nay.
Okay. So it comes down to me, right? I like the project. I think it's Copesec's cool. I think it fits that area. It actually probably spruces it up a little bit. I don't like the traffic, but I don't know how we could fix I don't like the left turn. So I'm going to agree with Councilman Brennan and Stokes if we can get rid of the left turn issue.
He really wants to say
I
something.
have the answer, Mayor.
Why are you crying about it? Jesus, it's all right.
So what other cities have done, they do a left turn only during peak times. So you can do that, and I've seen them before. So let's say, okay, during a peak time, and you see that during their thing, you say you can't go left here. And then you police it as such. That gives people the opportunities during the non-peak times, weekends, late at night, what have you, that they can continue with their normal driving habits.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
We don't have a peak time for anything. All of our school zone traffic is round the clock.
I have a traffic impact study that says different.
Okay. All of our school zones are 24 hours a day school zones, you know. What does it say?
So you have AM and PM peak times. Those would be between 7 and 9 and 4 and 6.
Okay, I'm not saying we don't have peak traffic flow times. We don't have anywhere in the city that has a restriction of a, like, you can do this at certain
Not
times
yet,
of the day. Or,
but other cities do.
Yeah.
It is an option. It is a way to not have that only be a left turn.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna amend it.
All right. I'm just wasting time now. How fast are you gonna build me these houses?
So we have construction documents that are going now, so we anticipate 30 to 45 days to have those done and turned into ridge. We begin the horizontal construction, and I can't remember what we agreed with Brock and Rich in the development agreement. We're hoping to get at least one building permit once, and we talked to the fire chief, once he was satisfied that we could take care of a fire in the event of a building. So we anticipate this fall. Now, there are supply chain issues, but, you know, the builder that we're working with is just finishing a large project like this in Boise, and so we should be starting horizontal relatively soon, and then it's it's not that big, it's only 11 acres, so, you know, we hope to be going vertical late fall. So, Mountain Home's a lot quicker. I mean, if this was Eagle, no offense, it'd take forever, but you guys are pretty fast. It's amazing at how fast this, someone talked about how fast applications, and I've never seen anything faster.
All right. I vote yes. Okay. Action item number 14, deliberation decision on request by TKM Architecture to apply for a planned unit development property less than 3 acres.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
Can Mr. Cherry give us a summary and possibly have the applicant come down if he or she is here?
The applicant wants to do a PUD on a piece of property less than 3 acres, so it mandates him to come before you. The applicant's here.
All right, great. And this is an infill project, Mr. Cherry?
I'm going to let the applicant speak.
Hello again.
Hello, Taryn. How are you?
I am doing very well. Mr. Mayor, wonderful city councils. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm not trying to butter you up either. The opportunity to be here on behalf of a couple of clients who are interested in purchasing some property and finalizing the purchase of property on some relatively small sites. And the reason for the PUD, if I may summarize, to take advantage of really the same request. There are sites that are infill sites. One has never been developed to the best of my knowledge. It is adjacent, so it's directly west of the existing Lincoln Square apartments. Oh, I probably should have given you a warning, Brock. Thanks. So it is just under 3/4 of an acre. It's directly behind the Dollar Tree. I provided a letter that really just summarizes, and I'll be pithy in my comment here, but it has a single access, it's a shared access through an existing commercial site. So really the ability to develop it is restricted. So the owner of the existing Lincoln Square apartments thought, well, we'd like to expand. They were hoping to expand on their existing site, but there's no stormwater system, so said, no, you can't do that. They had the site surveyed by Eric Howard, who is the current owner of the site, or the subject parcel, and he said, well, you know, this is not going to be developed anytime soon that I can think of. This would provide access then, two means of access. One would be through the existing Lincoln Square apartments, and then also through the existing commercial ingress-egress easement. So that is the request. We ask that this be allowed to go through the PUD process for your consideration with the full application. But because it's less than 3 acres, we need permission to do so.
Councilman McCain.
Has anybody gotten a hold, I know it's a little premature, but has anybody gotten a hold of the Lincoln Apartments to even see if they'll allow them to access it?
Excellent question. The owner of the Lincoln Square Apartments is the one that wants to buy this parcel.
Oh, okay.
They would like to expand.
Okay.
Councilman Brennan?
And the access to the commercial property to is that north?
Yes.
They have the same permissions already?
Correct. Correct.
And but it's not the same ownership that direction?
No, it is not.
Taryn, did they get permission from ITD already?
Yes. Yeah, we checked with ITD. ITD says that because it's so small, I phrased that wrong, there aren't a lot of units, so there would be very little traffic going through there. We're going to encourage them really not to go through there as part of the lease agreement. You'll see that, I believe, in the draft agreement with the PUD, if you agree, with permission to go through the process.
So Taryn, isn't that parcel back there just for storm runoff or for the commercial?
Oh, no, the one, that piece right there, that's part of Lincoln Square Apartments is for the stormwater.
All right.
And they've got facilities, stormwater facilities. It's just underneath the parking. And there would be something very similar. It would essentially be, the product type would be different, given that it is a small site and parking is a main concern. But the way it's set up, or they go about the project would be similar.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
So are we talking strictly a residential use?
Correct.
Okay. And by the same ownership. Personally, I don't have any problems with it, but I would want them all to access out through Lincoln Square if it's the same ownership and deny access to the commercial property.
That's definitely something that can be done. I had a hunch maybe it would go that way. It wouldn't be conducive, well, I gotta be careful how I say this. It wouldn't be ideal to have residential traffic to go out to American Legion that way.
And there's a stoplight right
We
there.
have access because of the easement that's there. So it's already provided. we don't necessarily, I've spoken to the owner at length, they don't necessarily want people to go that way because it is it's an easement, it's a driveway.
Yeah.
But right now, what we're doing is giving them an ability to apply for it.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay, council, what do you guys want to do?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I had one quick question, Karen. I noticed down here it says parking for 2-to-0 ratio, 56 stalls, and then the parking provided was 42 stalls. Is that correct? That you're below the 2-to-1 requirement?
Not for this one.
Okay.
That may be a different.
Okay, I just saw in here parking ratio 1.5
Oh, I think
stalls per
that's for
unit.
the project that I haven't spoken of yet.
Okay.
Mayor?
You're ahead of me.
Councilwoman Garvey.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the request by TCAM Architecture to apply for a planned unit development for the property less than 3 acres.
Been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan. Aye. Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
All right, action item 15, deliberation decision requested by TKM Architecture to apply for a planned unit development property less than 3 acres.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
All right, here's where. So I was just curious why we have 1.5 stalls per unit in this one.
Great question. I also believe that would come up. So these are 50% one-bedroom and 50% two-bedroom units. And so if you grant permission today or tonight, then the PUD application that I'll submit next week will include a narrative and justification for that as well. Because it's an infill site, constrained site, it's difficult to develop there anyway. That is the purpose for the reduction.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
Just real quick, Brock, that can't be the right map for what we're talking about right now.
Oh, gosh. There's so many.
I was getting lost.
He's zoning off.
It's really hard for me.
It's past 9:30.
He's falling asleep.
Is the pizza coming?
See the location of this map here provided.
I have a note. We're limiting Brock's numbers
I can
next
send-
time.
They're not my numbers, they're the people's numbers.
I know.
Okay, so I need to,
Yeah, that one.
can you zoom out just a hair?
I knew I was getting tired.
I know.
I didn't even know the time. I know.
Brock, can you zoom out just a little bit so I can kind of get my bearings? That's
It's
Sunset
just north of the
Strip.
Albertsons,
Okay.
That's the
just
bowling
off the
alley.
Sunset.
Bowling
It's the
alley,
bowling
yeah.
alley.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey.
I make a motion that we approve the request by TKM Architecture to apply for a planned unit development for this property less than 3 acres.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded. I'll call for, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Garvey.
Aye.
Sorry, Councilwoman Garvey.
All right.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
It's Tiff's turn.
Okay, Tiff.
It's all your fault.
All righty. We'll run down to ordinances. Action item, ordinance 1742, creation of a local improvement district, number 1, lid number 1.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I make a motion that we suspend the three reading.
Hang on, real fast before you do that, please. We have some edits that I want to say for the record.
Yes.
Pending legal, so that they're good to go. So one, in the title, authorizing a sole source, we're going to remove that. Stephanie Bonnie does not want sole source wrote within this.
It's just superfluous. It doesn't need to be in there.
Correct. Okay. And then on page 3, section 5, we're gonna list city engineer. Okay. And then we're removing in that same paragraph sole source. Okay. I made it in red. You guys good with that?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
Who's the city engineer?
Okay, I can explain that because I have that same question.
Okay.
Actually, per state statute, we don't need a city engineer, but she wants it to say city engineer.
You
Yes and no.
Yeah, I knew legal would back me
have
up.
to have a design
One time.
So legal reasoning for that is if you do not designate the city engineer, which you kind of have, then you have to go out to bid for RFP every single time.
Gotcha.
Versus just doing a task order.
So we'll do a task order with Keller and
Okay.
Associates.
Okay.
Okay, Councilman.
Good.
Yes,
Take
you
it.
do not have to by code ever designate one.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this edited
Thank you.
ordinance by title for its one and only reading tonight, and that's ordinance 17, number 42. Number 1742.
42.
I know there's a lot.
Do you need a second on that? Second?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I thought he was gonna go through what they were.
Motion is, second. Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Garvey?
So this is read in full.
No, shush.
Please read.
Okay. Fiber optic local improvement district number 1, an ordinance creating fiber optic local improvement district number 1 for the city of Mountain Home, Elmer County, Idaho, describing and setting forth the boundaries of said fiber optic local improvement district, providing the improvements to be made herein, expenditures for said work and provided by law, providing the payment of costs and expenses of said improvement to be assessed against the property within the district, benefited thereby, the method of assessment, providing for the insurance of local improvement district bonds and or warrants, providing for the publication of a summary of this ordinance, and providing for the other matters properly related here too.
Council, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Run down to action item number 2, ordinance 1743, annexation of United Metals.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes?
I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title for its one and only reading tonight, and that is ordinance number 1743, annexation of United Metals.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Tiff, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance annexing to the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, the real property hereinafter described and declaring the same by proper legal description thereof to be part of said city of Mountain Home, Idaho, and providing an effective date.
Council members, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Run down to action item number 3, ordinances 1744, zoning C4 United Metals.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes?
I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title for its one and only reading tonight. That's ordinance number 1744, zoning of C4 United Metals.
Second.
There's a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Tiff, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, declaring the real property hereinafter described to be United Metal LLC C4 zone, subject to limitations of allowed use, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewithin, and providing an effective date.
Council members, do you wish 1744 to pass? Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Action item number 4, ordinance 1745, zoning R4 PUD of LaBelle Estates PUD.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes?
I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title for its one only reading tonight. And that is ordinance number 1745, zoning R4 PUD of LaBelle Estates PUD.
Second.
It's been motioned and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Stokes?
Aye. It's been a long night.
Sorry, Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
That was a compliment, I'm pretty sure.
Tiff, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, declaring the real property hereinafter described to be LaBelle Estates R4 PUD zone, subject to limitations of allowed use, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewithin, and providing an effective date.
Councilman, you've heard this council members, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan. Councilman McCain.
Aye.
All right, action item number 5, ordinance 1746, annexation of the Thomas and Carl property located at the corner of Air Base Road and Garrett Street.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes.
Let's not do all 3 readings tonight on this one, just one at a time.
Let's just get them over with.
I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by its title for its one and only reading tonight, and that's ordinance number 1746, annexation of Thomas and Crail property located at the corner of Air Base Road and Garrett Street.
Yeah.
What? I just
Second.
I thought. Second.
The motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Tip, please read ordinance.
An ordinance annexing to the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, the real property hereinafter described and declaring the same by proper legal description thereof and to be part of said city of Mountain Home, Idaho, and providing an effective date.
Council members, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
You look super nervous. Aye.
Aye. Oh.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
I voted aye.
Oh, sorry. Item
For him.
Action item number 6, ordinance 1747, zoning C4 heavy commercial of Thomas LaCroix property located at the corner of Air Base Road and Garrett Street.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes.
I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title for its one and only reading tonight. Ordinance 1747, zoning C4 heavy commercial of Thomas and Crail property located at the corner of Air Base Road and Garrett Street.
Second.
Is it crawl or is it crail?
They're all wrong in there.
It's crawl.
Oh.
It's supposed to be Kralo.
ALO.
So I've been saying it correctly.
Yeah.
Oh, as it's in Crail, as it's spelled.
Yeah. All right. So it's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Tip, please read ordinance 1747.
An ordinance of the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, declaring the real property hereinafter described to be Thomas and Crawl property C4 heavy commercial zone subject to limitations of allowed use, repelling all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Council members, do you wish this ordinance to pass? Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Action item number 7, ordinance 1748, annexation of the Thomas Crawl property located at the East Jerome Street, south of Colthrop Avenue, and west of Garrett Street.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes.
I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by its title for its one and only reading tonight. Ordinance number 1748, annexation of Thomason/Crawl with Scribner's error property located at the east of Jerome Street, south of Colthorpe Avenue, and west of Garrett Street.
Second.
The motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Tip, please read ordinance 1748.
An ordinance annexing to the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, the real property here and after described and declaring the same by proper legal description thereof to be part of said city of Mountain Home, Idaho, and providing an effective date.
Council members, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
All right, run down to action item number 8, ordinance 1749, zoning R4 residential of Thomas Crawl property located at the east of Jerome Street, south of Colthorpe Avenue, west of Garrett Street, and north of Airbase Road. We could do all these like in one giant one.
Hey,
Jeez
I'm game,
Louise.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Stokes?
I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title for its one and only reading tonight. Ordinance 1749, zoning R4 residential of Thomas and Crawl property located at the east of Jerome Street, south of Colthorpe Avenue, west of Garrett Street, and north of Airbase Road.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Tip, please read ordinance 1749.
An ordinance of the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, declaring the real property hereinafter described to be Thomas and Crawl property R4 residential zone subject to limitations of allowed use, repelling all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Council members, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan. On down to action item number 9, ordinance 1750, rezone a portion of the land C4 heavy commercial to R4 residential of Thomas and Carl property located at the east of Jerome Street, south of Colthorpe Avenue, and west of Garrett Street.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman
I
Stokes.
make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by its title for its one and only reading tonight. Ordinance 1750, rezone a portion of land from C4 heavy commercial to R4 residential of Thomas and Carl property located to the east of Jerome Street, south of Colthorpe Avenue, and west of Garrett Street.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Tiffany, please read ordinance 1750.
An ordinance of the City of Mountain Home, Idaho, declaring the real property hereinafter described to be Thomas and Carl property rezoned from C4 heavy commercial to R4 residential zone, subject to limitations of allowed use, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Council members, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish to pass? Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
All right, recognizing persons in the audience. Would anybody like to get up and speak for 3 minutes?
I'll make it really quick, I swear.
Go ahead.
I know you guys still have stuff to do. My name is Samantha Venable Harjo. I live at 787 West 8 South here in town. I wanted to come and thank our community for being involved in the Mountain Home Bond. So I am part of the newly founded Friends of the Mountain Home School District, which is a political action committee, still in the process of getting all the legal situation underway, but that's with the Secretary of State. Our goal is to bring more attention to the Mountain Home Bond because the school district cannot speak for itself as far as the benefit and the pro for that. So that committee was one of the 3 events put on at the Mountain Home High School. A lot of people here in the room were actually at one of those 3 events. Thank you to the 2 councilmen that attended. Sorry if I missed anybody else that was there as well. I know that Brock Cherry came too, and also members of our community. Anyways, I want to say that I'm very grateful that majority of those comments have actually been positive. I think we all understand that there is financial constraints in our community, but we're working really hard to communicate more opportunities for the lower income, fixed income, senior, veteran populations that can't afford those things. We are trying to educate them that there are other opportunities for tax relief, so we're hoping to make that more known. And I just appreciate that there's been so many good questions. Those are being answered from the Friends of the Mountain Home School District website, Facebook page rather. And the Mountain Home Bond website isn't socialized enough. So if you don't have your questions answered, I refer you there. And we have that Facebook page open to questions. We're happy to provide answers to as well. And the vote's coming up on May 17th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being a diehard and sticking around.
It's my
Dedication.
job moving this to the end, by the way. I mean that truly. Like, truly. I think that was very smart of you guys.
But thank you for sticking around.
All right, final comments. Anybody got anything really quick? All right, hearing
Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I make a motion to enter executive sessions pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-206, subsection 1, A, B, and F.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
No final
Where the heck you two going?
I thought we were going in. We have to the bathroom.
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. Yes,
Councilman Stokes.
Can I vote from the back?
All right. Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
all right, go ahead. We'll wait.
I'm sorry, Becky. I just had to give you guys a hard time.